All right. We're in. Freedom's Pep Rally. Good morning. Welcome to the show. All right. Getting it going here on a Tuesday morning. Sun's starting to come out. That looks like another nice fall-like day here in central Maine. Hopefully it's a nice day where you are too. All kinds of stuff to inform, to make you more wise. And, you know, I hate to say it, but it may even frighten you some. And I don't like to frighten anybody. You know, like Casper the Ghost. I don't mean to scare anybody. I just want to be your friend. But there's a lot of scary stuff going on. Yeah. We've got a derelict president. We have a vice president who apparently there's no love lost, apparently, between the Biden team and the Harris team. They're divided up into like factions. And it's, you know, we're just in a place that's very frightening, frankly. And I don't know where it's going to go from here. There is an article. I'm going to read you a little bit of an article that somebody just penned, saying basically, and I'm just paraphrasing the article right now. I'll read a little bit of it to you later. Basically saying that, you know, at this point, civil war type things are plausible. Now, just, I'm walking on eggshells when I say that. I'll read a little bit of the article later on for you. This hour, we'll be able to get to it. Coming up later on this morning, we have a guest, too, as a matter of fact. And that guest's name is, Casey Chalk. Casey Chalk is going to be here. He's written a book called The Persecuted. Now, this ought to be a very interesting conversation with Casey Chalk. The Persecuted is about courageous Christians living their faith in Muslim lands. You know, the more you know. This is interesting. Interesting to see how difficult it is to practice Christianity in Muslim lands, likely totalitarian lands where freedom of religion is not allowed. I just think this is going to be a great conversation. So Casey Chalk will be coming up this morning at 11 o'clock. And we'll get going here with Freedom's Pep Rally, like we always do, on the 16th of November. Today in history, let's go to the Associated Press. Please share the broadcast, and please come right back.
November 16th, 1966. In Ohio, Dr. Sam Shepard is acquitted in a second trial of charges that he murdered his pregnant wife, Marilyn. Shepard served 10 years behind bars for the 1954 murder before his release and second trial. 1933. The United States and the Soviet Union established diplomatic relations. That move ends years of estrangement between the two countries after the Russian Revolution. 2001. In Washington, D.C., more fallout from America's anthrax scare following the September 11th attacks. Investigators find a second letter containing the deadly germ known to have been sent to Capitol Hill. This time, the letter is addressed to Senator Patrick Leahy of Vermont.
I'm hoping that the one bright light in all of this might be that this letter will give us further evidence to find out who is doing this.
But the anthrax mailings, which killed 5 people and sickened more than a dozen others, remain unsolved. 1981.
I'm part of your life. I live here. I'm real. You can't switch to another station.
Actor William Holden is found dead in his apartment in Santa Monica, California. Holden, whose roles include Network, Sabrina, and Sunset Boulevard, was 63 years old. And 1959.
The hills are alive with the sound of music.
In New York, the Rodgers and Hammerstein musical, The Sound of Music, opens on Broadway. Today in history, November 16th. Camille Bohannon, The Associated Press.
Oh, isn't that pretty? Good morning. Welcome back. Freedom's Pep Rally is here and live on the radio and in your face. Find us at legacy1160.com. You can listen live right on the website. You can switch back and forth if you want to between video and audio during the 6 hours of live. Mike, Violette, and I in the morning. But we're audio there too, powered by the Harry J. Smith Company on Sanger Avenue in Waterville. Our video there and all the other channels is powered by Moody's Collision Center. Then you've got the free apps you can download from Google Play or the Apple Store. Free being the operative word. All you have to do is punch up the app whenever you want to listen to Legacy 1160, and that goes 24/7, whether you want to listen to us in the morning, live local talk, or you want to hear the music. That's all on the audio channels. And Hardy Wolf and Downing, Maine's injury lawyers, 1-800-INJURED or hardywolf.com. The show here is brought to you by they're open today at the gun shop on Coney Circle in Augusta. Welcome in. It's great to have you here this morning. And again, we've got Casey Chalk, The Persecuted, author of The Persecuted, Practicing Christianity in Muslim Lands. But just interesting talk. 11 o'clock, Casey's going to be here. School board in Maine, I saw this yesterday, a group calling itself Maine Patriots with Attitude. This is from the Morning Sentinel. They vow to gather weekly outside the home of a school board member in central Maine to protest mask-wearing mandates. And first protest was, I guess, last Thursday. I don't know if I tried to find a Facebook page on them. I couldn't. Nick Blanchard of Waterville founded the group, and that's where the first protest took place. But he posted a recent video on YouTube arguing that attending school board meetings is fruitless. Imagine that. Fruitless, and it's time to escalate tactics to try to make school boards accountable for their decisions. The people, everything is getting a dictatorial feel to it. Even school boards, they feel that their rule is the law. So it's good to see people getting out there and protesting. I don't know much about this group, though, so I'm not going to say one way or the other because I don't know what kind. If they're doing anything that's, hurting property or hurting people or trespassing, I don't know. I just know they're out there doing it. Making some noise. No violence, no property damage. Let them hear you. That's okay. I don't know as I'm good with going to people's houses. I think I've never been a fan of that, really. I mean, they did it to Tucker Carlson. They actually threatened Tucker Carlson's wife and children. I don't think he was home in Washington, D.C. So I'm not a big fan of going to people's houses. But attending school board meetings and speaking up and literally forcing them to hear you. You can do that, again, without being violent. You don't have to be hostile, but they should listen to you and not dictate. You elected them. You put them in office. You are their boss, right? That's the way it's supposed to work. Doesn't always work that way. Russia, we were talking a little bit about Russia yesterday. This popped up this morning. Russia apparently targeted its own satellite with a missile test. An anti-satellite missile. They blew up their own satellite. So what's the problem with that? Well, space debris is the problem with that. Russia has demonstrated a deliberate disregard for the security, safety, stability, and long-term sustainability of the space domain for all nations. That's from U.S. Army General James Dickinson, U.S. Space Command commander. So you got all this space that they blew up their own satellite. So you've got all kinds of junk flying around up there. What could possibly go wrong? Now, I know space is pretty big, It's pretty huge in the whole scheme of things, but there's a lot of stuff flying around up there. A lot of stuff. There's a ton of satellites flying around up there, maybe some drones, maybe, don't know what's up there. But, sooner or later, there are going to be occurrences where there is a confrontation between a spacecraft and a piece of junk. And for Russia to go ahead and blow up a satellite for a missile test, which once again shows us that Russia is still a threat too. They're testing missiles, anti-satellite missiles. We know China just tested not their first hypersonic missile. This one goes about, I think, if I'm not mistaken, close to 3,000 miles an hour. This is the first missile that can go that fast and can change courses on a dime. It can do a zigzag pattern. It can evade radar. So China's got this thing going. So we got Russia testing missiles. We just had a little rocket man over in North Korea testing missiles again. And now we've got China testing missiles and threatening Taiwan in the process. See what I mean? Scary stuff going on. And here's what I started to tell you about earlier when we first came on the air this morning. An article in WND points out that under the Joe Biden administration, listen to all these things so far. The nation was told during the campaign, you remember this, that, I am going to be the president of unity. Unity, we need to reunite. Well, that promise went away lickety-split, didn't it? So the moderate path is out the window. He set out with the years of division under Donald Trump's successful economic plans, his border security efforts, even his Abraham Accords, bringing new levels of security to the Middle East that we hadn't seen before. Biden was inaugurated, and then came the southern border, illegal alien crisis, attacks on pro-lifers in America, Afghanistan, inflation, energy crisis, and that's just the start of it. And yesterday he just signed this behemoth of a infrastructure bill, which reportedly does not much for the infrastructure of America. A lot of pet projects in there, undoubtedly, because Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, they know how to get those social things put into just about any bill that you can imagine. And yet 13 Republicans went along with it. 13 Republicans went along with it without even knowing what was in the bill. Just go along to get along. This is not the kind of Republican we need. We need a more America First type of Republican who will read the bills before they vote for the bills, not just to get along. We just need to get along. No, we don't need to get along. If they're slipping through social spending into all this stuff or pet projects, which we saw Nancy Pelosi doing during the last stimulus. You remember the last stimulus? The Kennedy Center, the bridge in upstate New York, some tunnel project in California. In the stimulus bill that was supposed to help everyday ordinary Americans during the COVID crisis. And all this other garbage was in there. So the question is, could this lead to civil war? That was my question earlier. In an article at Daily Mail, a guy named Malcolm Kiyun, who lives in Uppsala, Sweden, writes, this is what he writes. And these people, trust me, these people on the outside looking in oftentimes have a better grasp on what's going on than the people who live here. They see what's going on from afar, from a distance, to coin an old Bette Midler phrase. So here's what he writes. Talk of insurrection, secession, civil conflict, and civil war is no longer the chatter of the gullible and the mentally ill. It's entering the fringes of polite society. Some support this national divorce. Others are opposed to it. Others claim they would actually prefer to declare war on their recalcitrant countrymen rather than let them go their own way unmolested. This guy's got some, this guy's got some knowledge of what's going on here. I mean, listen to what he's saying. It's simply not irrational to consider such possibilities. Given the times, he explained, the year 2021 has thus far been a spectacular year of signs of political decline. The U.S. has now seen all the notable horsemen of the apocalypse that historically herald strife and revolution to appear, one after the other. He cited political division among the elites, increasing loss of legitimacy in the eyes of the population, military defeat abroad, and new and very ominous crisis in the real economy with no end in sight. He continues, any of these crises would be bad enough on their own. Taken together, they represent a truly serious threat to the stability of the current order. This is someplace we don't want to go. But as things continue to unfold in a unarguably more Marxist direction, something could happen. Hopefully we'll get to 2022 and the election before all hell breaks loose. But we've heard people have said, when are Americans going to stand? When are we going to do something? We don't want that to happen. I think we need to exhaust every possibility, including the 2022 election. Now, if we can't take America back in the 2022 election, then something's really wrong. Now, of course, a lot can happen between now and a year from now to really, some Republicans, conservatives could really, really, really screw something up and may turn the tables once again. Or the Democrats could potentially do something really, really good that Americans would celebrate as a whole, as one. That's very doubtful. But you don't know what's going to happen. I mean, you get a year, anything could happen, including this civil unrest. We hope it doesn't, but it's being floated now. It's being floated now by more than just us, we, the rank and file citizens of the United States, the serfs, as we are becoming, serfs as in the government's controlling us. Who is actually controlling us? That's another good question. Is it Joe Biden? Is it Kamala Harris? Well, I don't think it's either. Conventional wisdom doesn't either. This is from yesterday. We every day we get something new from Joe. Joe Biden appeared to be dazed and confused yet again yesterday. He held a virtual tribal summit, after which he signed an executive order on improving public safety and criminal justice for Native Americans and addressing the crisis of missing or murdered Indigenous people. Now, I don't know what the bill looks like. I can't say as I see anything wrong with that. But I want you to listen to Joe here. There was a video clip afterwards posted online, and Biden was on the stage, alone on the stage, on the production set that his team built for him at the Eisenhower Executive Office building across from the White House, so he could have bigger screens, I guess, bigger teleprompters, because his eyesight isn't that great. Neither is his reading ability, apparently. So here he is. He's standing alone, and he senses he's alone. And he's wondering, where is everybody? And he's looking, you have to see the video to appreciate it. But he's looking around, confused where everybody is. Well, after a while, you hear Jill, and everybody, including America Garland, they come out on stage and join him. But listen to his momentary confusion.
Where is everybody? Jill. Jill's here, the Attorney General. We got the dog. Everybody's there. All right, Jill. I don't know what was going on back there, but
I don't know what was going on back there. They were just behind him, probably waiting to be introduced. Where is everybody, Jill? You know, we make fun. That's the type of thing I say when I'm kind of joking. I don't joke because it's funny. I joke because it's pathetic. So here's this guy on stage. You feel sorry for him. Where is everybody? It's like they left him alone there. He felt threatened, I guess. And then, everybody didn't know what was going on back there. That's the leader. Oh, and get this. I don't have audio on this, but in a speech, I guess it was a speech or some sort of a gathering, maybe a meeting or some sort of, he's done a couple of, he did an online summit with Xi Jinping, the Chinese president, along with the tribal leaders. Everything's virtual, apparently, from the White House or wherever he is now. But social media reports that he was boasting how under Barack Obama, during the Obama administration, he worked with almost every single governor in the nation, except one of the governors. There's one governor he didn't work with under Obama. And this is how he described her. The one who could see Alaska from her porch. The one who could see Alaska from her porch. Now, if I recall, the only governor associated with Alaska that would mean anything about would be Sarah Palin. And her porch was actually in Alaska. So, yes, she could see Alaska from her porch. I think what he meant is she could see Russia from her porch. She did say that. She could see Russia from her porch. And again, not a major misstep, but cumulative. You take the cumulative effect of all of these missteps and places where he just seems lost. And you have to wonder, don't you, who is running the country? And it's not Kamala Harris. And here's why. From Conservative Brief, an explosive new report from CNN titled Exasperation. This CNN. This is the Communist News Network. Exasperation and dysfunction. Inside Kamala Harris' frustrating start as vice president reveals that there certainly appears to be a major shade war between Biden and Harris. Now, you can't convince me that Barack Obama didn't help handpick Kamala Harris along with mainstream media. You know, Joy Reid was suggesting, well, you got to pick a black woman. Al Sharpton was suggesting, well, you got to pick a black woman. So he checked the box. I don't think he ever liked her, and I don't believe she ever liked him. And they certainly don't like each other now. So that makes for sort of a strange administration when you've got a president and vice president who don't like each other. And even, apparently, there's been some name-calling. I'll get to that. The report alleges that Harris allies are accusing the Biden administration of being racist because he's not doing more to defend her publicly as her poll numbers sink down into the 20s, with Joe's not being very far behind, by the way. Many in the vice president's circle say she's not being adequately prepared or positioned and instead being sidelined, according to this CNN report. Kamala herself has told several confidants she feels constrained in what she's able to do politically. She's an aspiring leader, don't you know? Nobody liked her. Maybe the administration, maybe that's one thing they're getting right. Nobody likes her. Nobody believes her. She is the most fake human being I've ever heard speak. She's fake, she's phony, she can't act, she's tried, and she laughs out of context. Out of nerves, probably. But where she laughs makes no sense and is oftentimes, it's very insulting to whatever she's talking about. Like when she said she was asked her, have you been to the border yet? Not this week. Well, she still hasn't really been to the border, not where the crisis is going on. She went to a safe spot on the border. Oh, I've been to the border. Yeah, okay, I've been to the border. Okay, got that one checked off. And she laughs, and is it any wonder they're trying to hide her? It's not because she's black. It's not because she's a woman. We heard Winsome Sears yesterday. Winsome Sears, I've got that clip right here. She is the lieutenant governor-elect for Virginia. This is what she said.
What happens to you isn't because you're black or because you're a woman. It's simply life. I mean, some days you're the pigeon and some days you're the statue. It's just life.
God bless her. It's just life. We're going to have her on. We are going to have, well, we're hopefully going to have her on. Our guest that we had on yesterday is good friends with her and said, yeah, he said, I can make it happen. So, but maybe next week we will have Virginia's lieutenant governor-elect, Winsome Sears, on this show. That would rock. So, going on with this story about Kamala Harris, CNN's report claims Biden allies in the administration have avoided dealing with her because they see entrenched dysfunction and lack of focus from her. Pretty much the same thing we see from Joe Biden, it sounds like, right? Republicans and the right-wing media turned Harris into a political target from the moment she was picked for the ticket. And implicit racism and sexism have been constant. Okay, how do these idiots define racism and sexism? Examples of racism and sexism against Kamala Harris. She's phony. You can't believe what she says. She's very, very unpopular. She was unpopular during the presidential debate. She dropped out. She was the first one, I think, to drop out of the presidential race. She was so unpopular. Racist? Sexist? How do you figure? Where is it? Where's the proof? Ask CNN, where's the proof? Show me the proof. Where is the racism and sexism? It's a question they cannot answer. Winsome Sears has challenged Joy Reid, raging racist Reid, to a debate. When we get her on, we're going to ask her if Joy Reid has taken her up on that. Joy Reid has no problem saying when she talks from her black mouth, a white message comes out. She has no problem saying that about Winsome Sears. But do you think she's going to let her on the show to have a debate? Not a chance, because she is a coward and she cannot back up what she is saying. She claims racism. If she's asked about it, if she said, prove it, she has no way to prove it. She has no fight. So that's not going to happen. I can almost guarantee it. And if it does, I told you, I will pay $100 for pay-per-view to watch that debate. But it won't happen. Not going to go. CNN's report also alleged that sources say Harris' staff has failed her own staff. Oh, poor thing. When Biden picked Harris as his running mate, he was essentially anointing her as the future of the Democratic Party, the report said. Now many of those close to her feel like he's shrinking his political duties to promote her and essentially setting her up to fail. He's shirking his political duties to promote her, meaning he's not promoting her. Why would he? She's an albatross. Her ratings are lower than his. Nobody wants to hear her talk. I mean, his ratings, he can do bad enough on his own. Why does he want to bring somebody who's doing worse than he is in and treat her like an equal? Maybe she'll come up and he'll go down. Maybe they'll hover at around 30% between the two of them. I mean, really, big deal. Joe Biden's not promoting you. I would rather you'd be better off with Donald Trump promoting you. More people like Donald Trump than like Joe Biden. Maybe not Democrats. Just saying. Allies to Harris have essentially accused members of Biden's circle of being racist for not defending her. And there you go. Racist, racist, racist. How racist can we get? Well, you remember the name Nicole Hannah-Jones? Nicole Hannah-Jones, she's one of the people who schools have a problem with, or not schools, but parents have a problem with, because Nicole Hannah-Jones started the 1619 Project. You know what that is, right? That changes the history of America. That has America's start, the start of this American experiment, which we know started in, 1776, right, with the Declaration of Independence, 245 years ago. No, because the start was racist. So it started in 1619 when the first slaves came over. That's the new history. And schools are starting to embrace it. This racist red-haired woman is pushing her, I don't know, you can't call it curriculum, is pushing her lies, her false history on education. And education, being the leftist entity it is embracing it, along with critical race theory. Critical race theory, 1619 Project, both bad. So if you're unfamiliar with the 1619 Project, it's very important that you understand at least a little bit about it. And I've got some good information here about it. It's horrible. It's a rewrite of American history. Without some of the key facts, it portrays the nation, America, being started with the goal of protecting slavery. And now it's going to be a book. It is going to be a book. And what do you want to bet? It'll be a New York Times bestseller, because Hannah Nicole Jones, or Nicole Hannah-Jones, whatever. Sorry, I don't mean to be so flippant about her name. She got two first names. Nicole Hannah-Jones is going to be releasing a book on this, and she works for the New York Times Magazine. It's not even out yet, and it's probably already a bestseller on the New York Times list. Now, the project is based on the outrageous central claim that slavery and racism are the true foundation of America. And it started in 1619. So one woman and her minions are rewriting American history to be racist. They are driving the proverbial wedge. We want to forget about racism. We want to forget about divisiveness. Having a hard time talking this morning. And we just want to move forward. We aren't a racist nation, but they keep pushing it. Believe me, there's a reason why they're doing this. The divide is intentional, and they're coming at us from all directions. Now, the beleaguered project, 1619 Project, has been the target of fact-based criticism since it first came out. The project coordinator has been accused of praising Cuba for being most equal. And then she bullied a university into giving her a job and followed up by calling the school racist. Everybody's racist in this world, according to this ilk of people. According to your progressive Democrats, everybody's racist. No, they are. They're the true racists. They are the ones. Now, columnist Michael Massey said the 1619 Project is simply a Marxist attempt to rewrite history. It won a Pulitzer Prize, but a large coalition of scholars urged the organization to withdraw the award. There's also another book titled Debunking the 1619 Project by Mary Graybar, if you want to check that out. Now, on ABC's Good Morning America, they were more than happy to praise Nicole Hannah-Jones for the hard work she's done on rewriting American history. That's our media. Yeah, you go, girl. You're doing a great job. America's racist. Yeah. This is American media agreeing with her. Now, I've got a piece of the interview here. It starts with ABC's Robin Roberts, who began the softball interview with this introduction. We are now joined by one of the most dynamic and vocal journalists today, meaning Nicole Hannah-Jones. Again, this starts out with Robin Roberts.
There are many people who look at you and they say you are a symbol of representation, of strength and truth. But you know you have your critics as well. How can we have, as a nation, a discussion about race that moves the discussion forward?
I think you have to begin with the truth. So much of the attacks against the 1619 Project and what we're seeing as, laws that are trying to stop the teaching of more accurate histories are because we haven't wanted to confront the truth in this country. The truth is often painful, but it is in confronting that we are able to actually heal and move on.
The truth is not painful. The truth is the truth. The truth is the truth. We've learned about it. So we know slavery was horrible. We've learned about it. What we haven't learned that is a fact, there were also white slaves and black slave owners. We didn't hear that part of it. But all that aside, this is all over now. We have moved on, Nicole. Stop dwelling in the past and making up history for your own gain. Her mission is to polarize. And she's doing a pretty good job. With the help of mainstream, thank you, Robin Roberts, and Good Morning America. Way to go. Get those hard-hitting interviews in there. We'll be back. I'm John James. This is Freedom's Pep Rally.
Legacy 1160, WSKW.
If you love to shop, whether it's for yourself or for others, you've got to visit Townline Antiques. With new items arriving nearly every day, you never know what treasure you may stumble upon. Whether it's vintage signs, sports memorabilia, jewelry, coins, books, comics, artwork, or classic electronics, you're always sure to find something that tickles your fancy. Plus, there's lots of great furniture, glassware, and household goods. And their vintage Christmas booth is now fully stocked with many wonderful items. If you're looking for ornaments, lights, stockings, figurines, or any other holiday decor, you've got to stop by and shop this dazzling selection. You'll also find Santas galore with dolls, pictures, ceramics, and more. Or how about a classic Christmas toy like a teddy bear or a truck? Townline Antiques is a great place to find that truly one-of-a-kind gift or treat yourself to a trip through some wonderful memories with a present for yourself. Townline Antiques, open Tuesday through Sunday from 10 to 5, Route 201, right on the Winslow-Vassalboro Town Line.
What's important here at Moody's is we have a lot of opportunity for upward mobility.
Moody's definitely helped me through. They sent me to school. I got my degree in business. I had the demeanor and I had the willpower and the want.
Our trade is constantly changing and there's always new challenges that arise.
I definitely feel like an owner. It's very exciting.
When you like what you do, you like your job, you like the people you work with, what else could you ask for?
Bring your skills to Moody's and build a long-term future with us.
I'm CBS 13 meteorologist Matt Honig. We'll have mostly sunny skies out there for our Tuesday. Temperatures will be in the mid-40s in most towns with a stiff breeze out of the west. Wednesday will have increasing clouds. There will still be some cool air in place with highs only in the low 40s. Some warmer air arrives on Thursday with highs up near 60.
Thank you very much, Matt. Welcome back to Freedom's Pep Rally. John James here, your host. I feel a little off today. I do. I got plenty of content. We get a lot of great content today, but I just feel a little off. I don't know if you notice it. I do. I just, I don't know. I'm just a little, But But we're here to inform and entertain. And please, the things going on with Biden yesterday, he did a couple of virtual things. He met with Chinese President Xi. There's video of this. The interpreter, oh, yeah, we're old buddies. We don't deal in formalities. Oh, yeah. Oh, they're buddies, all right. Yeah, backroom deals with Hunter and John Kerry. You bet they're buddies. Ooh. So Biden and Xi Jinping met on the video. President Xi, or as Biden calls him, boss. Quite a paycheck, too, I guess, from what I hear. Xi is the world's most powerful communist leader. And Joe Biden is the weakest, as a matter of fact. Biden also met with Native Americans yesterday, a virtual summit, Native American leaders, and he got his very own Indian name yesterday. Babbling Ass, I believe. That's his new Indian name. So I guess he's an honorary Native American. Good going, Joe. 9:42 right here on Legacy 1160 WSKW. And I got to be careful. We don't have a lot of time here. A couple of news items about party affiliation here. First of all, is somebody you probably don't know from Texas, but this is happening more and more now. Long-serving Democratic Texas State Rep Ryan Gillen. I wonder if he was one of the guys that flew up to Texas, flew up to Washington, D.C., rather. Remember the Democrats flew up to D.C. to stop what were they trying to stop? I don't even know what they're trying to stop. Can't remember what it was, but I remember a bunch of them flew maskless in the airplane to D.C. They were all Democrats. This guy might have been in there, but he is now going to be running for re-election as a Republican, according to the Blaze. He said, quote, throughout my career, creating prosperous business climate, defending the Second Amendment, and protecting the lives of the unborn are the cornerstones of how I have represented my district. Whoa. And he was a Democrat? He said, after much consideration and prayer with my family, I feel that my fiscally conservative, pro-business, and pro-life values are no longer in step with the Democratic Party of today. They have left him. So he says, I am proudly running as a Republican to represent House District 31, Texas. Now, according to Fox News, Texas Democrat Party Chair Gilberto Hinojosa accused Gillen of prioritizing holding on to his job rather than standing up for Texas. Well, I think standing up for babies' rights, standing up for the Second Amendment, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that is standing up for Texas. I think that is standing up for the Constitution. I think that is standing up for the lives of human beings. So, Gilberto Hinojosa, you're wrong. You're wrong. He is standing up for Texans. Hinojosa went on. He said, we're disappointed to see him selling his soul and selling out South Texas, but we're excited to clear the field for a real Democrat to run. One we can count on to show up for our families and put Texans first and kill babies and take away guns. I added that. I threw that in. That's what he was thinking. I believe that's what Hinojosa was thinking, but I threw that in. Now, here's one you're going to like. Everybody knows who Liz Cheney is, right? She is a rhino. Republican Party in Wyoming, where she is from, voted on Saturday to no longer recognize Liz Cheney as a member of the Republican Party. Oopsie. Her own state Republican Party says, see ya, Liz. Whoa. Now, she was one of the most outspoken critics of Trump. You remember that? She was among 10 Republicans who voted to impeach him the second time when Democrats brought up charges of inciting an insurrection. I still have to laugh every time I say that, because It wasn't an insurrection, not even close. Sounds like something, not even close. Not even close. And it wasn't. It wasn't even close. You know, it was more like an insurrection. We've said it repeatedly on this show. All of the riots all throughout the country, the deaths, the burning buildings, the occupying cities, the killing police, the defunding the police, that's more like an insurrection. But the word insurrection was never used. Yeah, they attacked government buildings. They were basically, they became anarchists. These rioters did. Anarchists. Which is, that's way, way far right. That's further right than I want to go. But that's literally far right. Anarchy is far right. No government, no authority. That's anarchy. The left, the way over on the left, that's huge government, total authority. We're going that way. We are moving to the left. As a country, we are moving very methodically, very well thought out, very well planned. Slowly, it's picked up speed since Trump was in office, since COVID-19 came. Really, it started starting downhill now. We're rolling along pretty fast, headed to Marxism. But that's what the far left is. The far left is huge government, total control, no freedom for the people. That's totally antithetical to the Constitution. Far right, far right, no government, and no authority. That's anarchy. That's far right. And I've got a chart I found in a book that describes the lines of rule that the left has, which is complete and total Marxism. It's complete and total tyranny. And then I've got the real line, which shows the left as big government, the right as anarchy, and the center right is what we have, Democratic Republic, or what we had. As I say, we are moving further and further to the left all the time. And Liz Cheney is one of the enablers of that movement. That's exactly what a rhino does. That's exactly what a lot of these feckless Republicans, like the ones in Augusta, not all of them. I'm not throwing the baby out with the bathwater here. I've got a lot of good friends in the Maine Senate and the Maine House who are not rhinos, who are standing up for what is right, but they are way, way outnumbered by the far left progressives and the rhinos, who are the feckless Republicans. Now, the vote to get Cheney kicked out of or not recognized as a Republican in Wyoming, our home state anymore, they voted 31-29 during a meeting in Buffalo, Wyoming, to formally censure Cheney for the second time. And I guess a spokesperson for Liz Cheney released a statement. I don't have it right here, but I'm sure she's probably just going to become a Democrat now, because that more aligns with what she believes. Clearly, she didn't like America First. She wasn't a fan at all of Donald Trump, and I don't believe that Susan Collins is either. You know, I like Susan Collins. She has done some good things for the state of Maine, but it's time for a new party, for a new century. We need no rhinos. We need more America First, make America great Republicans and conservatives. Remember, we've been saying all along that these mandates Joe Biden is issuing, people are losing their jobs over these mandates and that they are illegal. Not even a mandate, really. They are illegal. You probably have heard this, but in case you haven't, Joe Biden lost in the Fifth Circuit. Texas, Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals ordered the U.S. Labor Department's OSHA to take no steps to implement or enforce the mandate until further court order, according to a story from Fox News. That's Texas, Louisiana. I don't know what states that includes. This is the most recent development in what is going to be a long legal fight. And probably we're probably not far from seeing children who don't need to be vaccinated mandated. And then what are you going to do? What are parents going to do? Literally, you're between a rock and a hard place. We've seen that kids get myocarditis. There are real concerns with children, not so much with COVID. More, I think, for me, more with a vaccine than with COVID-19 for young kids, unless they have comorbidities. Now, maybe some young children, it's worth a risk if they have a comorbidity. Children have died with COVID. They have. And most of them had something else going on. Maybe a vaccine would benefit those kids. But a healthy young child? Anyway, hopefully the mandate for kids will never come. Hopefully the mandates for workers, jab or job, will stop. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton was one of the critics of the mandate, celebrated the court victory on Twitter. He said, citing Texas arguments, the Fifth Circuit stayed OSHA's unconstitutional and illegal private business vaccine mandate. We won. Litigation will continue. But this is a massive victory for Texas and for freedom from Biden's tyranny and lawlessness. Boom. We need more decisions like that. Nobody is saying that the vaccine, I would never tell anybody, I wouldn't get the vaccine. I got the vaccine. I don't know, maybe I'll get a booster. I don't know. Doesn't matter. And I don't care if you don't get one. And if you don't want to get one, good for you. Stand up for it. But should you be fired if you don't want to get it? Texas says no. The Fifth Circuit says no. That's illegal. They say it's illegal for Biden to use OSHA. That's what he did. Biden used OSHA. Biden is using all of these federal agencies. Do you think maybe Biden used the FDA to say, okay, we approved the vaccine, now you can mandate it? After less than a year, a vaccine which would normally take 10 to 15 years to get approved, after 1 year, less than a year, it's approved by the boom, poof, magic. The FDA, do you think Biden and his cohorts had anything, maybe Attorney General Merrick Garland had anything to do with that? Oh, he's pure as the driven snow. He would never use his position, would he? No. So Biden tells OSHA, here, you enforce this law. That's illegal. It's not a law. It's not a mandate. It's not an executive order. What was signed? Nothing that I can tell. OSHA was told to enforce the mandate. And so that, I guess, gave it teeth. At least that's what the businesses who are upholding the mandate think. It has teeth. We've got to abide by it, or we're going to get run out of town. We're going to get run out of town by the government. The state is controlling us. We're okay with that. Get a shot or get the hell out. That's going to help the economy, isn't it? So this was, according to the story, this was at Biden's direction to use OSHA. At Biden's direction, OSHA, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, issued a rule requiring U.S. employers with 100 or more workers to ensure their workers are fully vaccinated against COVID-19 or undergoing weekly tests for the virus. Businesses that don't comply face thousands of dollars in fines. Who wants to be fined? This is how the state takes control. This is how government takes control. Well, they're going to fine you $1,000, $10,000 if you violate these rules. Are you going to take it? You want to stay in business. You can't afford to pay $10,000 or more in fines. You got to stay in business. So what are you going to do? You're going to push the requirement and lose your workers in the process. So the businesses, the poor businesses, are damned if they do, damned if they don't. It's a no-win situation. And challenges have been launched by different states. Texas got a victory with the Fifth Circuit. Maine, Janet Mills is doing nothing. I mean, she's a Nazi in her own right. I mean, she put a mandate out on everybody in healthcare before Biden did. Now, if a private business does it, what are you going to do? They do it at their own peril, but it's up to them, right? Eastern Maine Medical Center, Northern Light Health, they put the mandate in place before Biden or Mills did. They said, you got to have a vaccination or you're out of a job. And we have a friend up in Presque Isle who moved up to Maine from North Carolina to take a job. And now she's stuck in Presque Isle, Maine with no income because Northern Light fired her, even though she has natural immunity, which is reportedly better than the vaccine. Stephanie Grandy, her name is. Look her up. We've got a video on her. If it's not on the archive page at legacy1160.com, it will be soon. Actually, I think it is there. I may be wrong about that. Legacy1160.com/video. It's 9:58. We've got a lot more to get to. And some audio you're going to want to hear. We're going to talk a little bit about the climate change hoax and more when we come back right after the news. I'm John James. Thank you for being here. Please share. This is Freedom's Pep Rally.
WSKW, Legacy 1160.
If you love to shoot guns or just like to keep those skills up to par, you just need to put some rounds down range. At Economy Guns and Indoor Range at 81 Main Street, Madison, you can. No matter the weather, no matter the day. Beautiful, well-ventilated indoor range downstairs, a gun shop upstairs. One stop does it all. Forgot to bring targets? No worries. They've got those too. And when you go in, make sure you say hi to Rosie. Economy Guns and Indoor Range on Main Street, Madison. Open Monday through Saturday, 10 to 5, Sunday, 10 to 2.
There are two types of people in the winter, those that put off their heavy work until the spring, and those who visited Whittemore & Sons for a Coyote tractor, so they can get nearly any job done no matter the weather. Coyote tractors are some of the toughest, most powerful, fuel-efficient, technologically advanced tractors ever built. Move that big pile of snow, transport that wood, and take care of all of your other heavy-duty winter jobs in no time with a Coyote tractor. Check out our full line of tough and versatile Coyote compact tractors, attachments, implements, and accessories at Whittemore & Sons, with dependable sales and service for over 50 years. Speaking of service, don't forget our service department is always ready to get you back in business. You never know when something may go wrong, but no matter when it does, Whittemore & Sons is ready to help. If you have questions or want to schedule a pickup, just call 474-2591. Run ahead of the pack with a Coyote tractor from Whittemore & Sons on the Waterville Road in Skowhegan. Sales and service by a family who cares.
Hi, my name is Tony Esposito from Dover Ford and Dover Foxcroft. In the past 2 months, we have had the good fortune of meeting hundreds of new friends and have helped over 200 people get a better deal and better service right here in Piscataquis County. Everyone we have met has been welcoming and friendly, and on behalf of everyone at Dover Ford, we thank you for the opportunity to manage your automotive needs. This month at Dover Ford, we will be raffling off a restored 1986 F-150 and dozens of other prizes. It doesn't cost anything to enter. Just pop into Dover Ford in the month of November and throw your name in the hat. Also, if you have a car or truck you are trying to sell, Dover Ford wants to buy it. We are paying top dollar for all cars and trucks, regardless of make, model, or mileage. Take advantage of the market and get the most for your used vehicle when you come on over to Dover Ford in downtown Dover Foxcroft or doverford.com.
I'm CBS 13 meteorologist Matt Honig. We'll have mostly sunny skies out there for our Tuesday. Temperatures will be in the mid-40s in most towns with a stiff breeze out of the west. Wednesday will have increasing clouds. There will still be some cool air in place with highs only in the low 40s. Some warmer air arrives on Thursday with highs up near 60.
From the Home Auto Group Studios, Farmington Ford and Franklin Chrysler in Farmington. This is WSKW, Skowhegan, Augusta, Waterville, Legacy 1160.
ABC News, I'm Faith Abube. More states are offering booster shots to all, with COVID cases up 20% since the end of October. Arkansas, Colorado, California, and New Mexico opening up booster shots to anyone over the age of 18 before a decision by federal regulators. A growing humanitarian crisis on the border between Poland and Belarus. Migrants trying to get into the EU are being held back. ABC's Ian Pannell is there.
With the weather here dropping to below zero, many are freezing without enough food or shelter. Some migrants are telling us that they've been incited to violence by the Belarusian authorities. There have already been a handful of deaths, and conditions here only continue to get worse. Europe refuses to grant them access, and the migrants remain trapped in this stalemate as winter sets in.
An atmospheric river blasting the Pacific Northwest. Hundreds of people had to be rescued because of mudslides in Vancouver. Hundreds more north of Seattle watched as their neighborhoods flooded. This is ABC News. Dozens of countries around the world may soon be able to get access to Pfizer's upcoming pill that can treat coronavirus infections. ABC's Derek Dennis has more on the story.
About 95 low and middle income countries, making up 53% of the world's population, could soon get access to Pfizer's COVID pill under a new plan. The company announcing it will grant sub-licenses to qualified drug makers to manufacture its COVID pill for developing or disenfranchised countries worldwide. Regulatory approval in those countries will still be needed, just like in the U.S., where Pfizer's COVID pill is not yet authorized. And Pfizer won't profit off the sub-licenses as long as COVID is still a World Health Organization public health emergency. Derek Dennis, ABC News.
And the computer chip shortage that could make for a bit of a chillier ride in some new cars this winter. GM says without all the chips it needs, it will now have to remove heated seats as a standard option on many of its newer models. Faith Abube, ABC News.
Get in the zone, AutoZone. Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? So your wipers are streaking. It might be time for a new set. We've got a great deal to help you get the job done and be ready for the weather ahead. Right now, you can get a $15 AutoZone gift card by mail or email when you buy 2 Bosch Envision wiper blades. And we've got even more ways to shop. Just order online with our free same-day store pickup or next-day delivery. Get in the zone, AutoZone. Start your job today at AutoZone.com. Restrictions apply.
Shante, can you sweep that, please?
Mina's salon business is growing faster than she can keep up with. She needs a new shop manager before her bookings go out of style.
Curtain bangs and balayage would look so good on you. Just hang on one second. Can you please answer that?
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Instant Match instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Hi, how are you? John James here, Freedom's Pep Rally. Welcome back. Brought to you by the Gun Shop on Coney Circle in Augusta. Hi to the gang there at the Gun Shop. They're great people. They have great products. They have a beautiful store, probably the most beautiful gun store you're ever going to go into. It is just the lighting, everything is just mwah. Makes you want to buy a gun, which I guess is the whole point of it, right? And they guarantee at the Gun Shop when you buy a gun, they will have the ammo to feed it. Although I will tell you, the ammo is starting to come back anyway. So you're going to see some on the shelves as well, I think. The ammo and their guns are pretty readily available. There was a real shortage during the COVID crisis. Everybody, people who weren't ever buying guns, were buying guns because they felt the world could spin off into chaos at any time, and it would keep them and their family safe. And that's what we can do here in America. That's why we have the Second Amendment, to protect all the rest. In fact, in keeping with that, And you're going to want to hear what's coming up next. We are being told by a Chinese dissident that America is becoming authoritarian. Well, we've been saying it. We've never lived it. All we know is what we've read. It feels like it's authoritarian, smells like it's authoritarian. Must be authoritarian. Well, now, somebody who knows authoritarianism from Mao Zedong, a Chinese dissident, is going to tell you all about what he sees. It was in a PBS interview, too. That's going to be coming up. But first, I want to play you an ad here from a guy by the name of Blake Masters. He's from Arizona. Blake Masters is a Donald Trump supporter. And he is running for Senate, U.S. Senate, next year for Arizona. Now, those in this country who would take away our gun rights fall primarily into one of two categories. Either politicians looking for power or people who are afraid of guns. Of course, they can be both, understandably. Blake Masters just released a new ad that makes everything pretty clear. Listen to the text of this as he does it. And not text, really. You're not reading it. Just listen to his statement. He's clearly reading from text. But what he says is very powerful. Right down to the last line. Listen to the last line. Remember the last line. It's powerful, which people in places like Australia and England know all too well. Here is Blake Masters, his new ad for the Arizona Senate race.
You've heard the news. 97% of scientists agree.
No. That's for later. That's our climate change segment. That's a very good one. No, the other G. Play the other G. Okay, here it is. Blake Masters. Take two.
This is a short-barreled rifle. It wasn't designed for hunting. This is designed to kill people. But if you're not a bad guy, I support your right to own one. The Second Amendment is not about duck hunting. It's about protecting your family and your country. What's the first thing the Taliban did when Joe Biden handed in Afghanistan? They took away people's guns.
Right.
That's how it works. I'm Blake Masters. I'm running for the U.S. Senate in Arizona. And I approve this message because without gun rights, before long, you have no rights.
There you go. Without gun rights, before long, you have no rights. Look what's happening now in Australia. Look what's happening now in New Zealand. Look what's happening now in Austria. Free countries, but now the COVID mandates, the COVID rules are unbelievable. Austria, they locking down. They are locking down everybody who refuses the vaccine. You cannot go anywhere. You maybe to the store. You can go to a place you need to go to, but maybe a grocery store, maybe the drugstore, maybe the doctor. You can go for a walk. But the police can check you and your vax status anytime. And if you are in defiance in Austria, a democratic republic, with far, far fewer guns per capita than we have in America. Don't think that's a fact that's lost on the politicians in this country. Or they would be treading not as lightly, and not that they're treading very lightly, but they haven't gotten to the point, except in New York City, where you can't have guns. We'll see how this Supreme Court case comes out. That may all change too. You can't have legal guns in New York. You can be a criminal and have all the guns you want. They do. Shootings are way up in New York City. But if you don't have a vax pass, a vaccine passport, you can't go anywhere. You have to show your passport to get into any place. That's Mayor, almost said Bloomberg, de Blasio. It's 10:11 now on Legacy 1160 WSKW. And let's get to that other story I was starting to tell you. But again, I get distracted very easily. Dr. Fauci, the leftist media darling, just did an interview with Ted Koppel. You got to hear this. He threw Donald Trump under the bus in the process, saying there was a time when he didn't speak with the president and I had to take matters into my own hands. Dr. Fauci, who may have actually caused coronavirus, may have actually intentionally caused coronavirus, knowingly caused coronavirus. Maybe he seemed to know about it back when Donald Trump took office. 2017, he was talking about it. You remember what he said? Well, we're going to have a surprise. This next administration, there's going to be a surprise. I don't remember if he called it an epidemic or a pandemic. Going to be something. It's going to be something big, I tell you. 2017. What was he talking? What on earth was he talking about? Arguably, he was talking, he knew about what was going on in China back in the early 2000s. I mentioned that yesterday. I haven't done any more research on it, but I will. And I will share it with you. Anyway, the scary thing about this interview with Ted Koppel, I'm going to play you this piece. He flippantly refers to individual rights like they're a scourge of society. Listen to this guy.
Well, one of the things that to me was most difficult to accept is that we put together a good plan for how we were going to try and dampen down the spread of infection early on, thinking that that was accepted by everybody. And then the next day, the president saying free Michigan, free Virginia. I didn't quite understand what the purpose of that was, except to put this misplaced perception about people's individual right to make a decision that supersedes the societal safety.
Yeah, your damned individual rights don't supersede what the state says, do they, Adolf? They're not hiding it. They're not hiding it anymore. Right out in the open. It's kind of scary, isn't it? But I'd rather know. I'd rather know and see it. More people are seeing it. I think a lot of people did see it over the years. I mean, this has been going on over the years, this progression toward the left, this march to the left. And it's been many people on the right. I mean, many conservative Republicans have been enablers of that move, thinking they were doing things for the greater good. Well, the greater good isn't always really for the greater good of the nation. Like these edicts now, this totalitarianism. It doesn't say in the Constitution, your right, your individual rights will be put on hold in case of a pandemic indefinitely. 2 weeks to flatten the curve. That was 20 months ago. 2 weeks. 2 weeks is up, Anthony. Time is 10:15 now on Legacy 1160 WSKW. And coming up at 11 o'clock, we have a guest on the show. And his name is Casey Chalk. His book is called The Persecuted. It's about courageous Christians living their faith in Muslim lands. Should be very interesting. And I just got this piece of mail. I wanted to show you this. We had Raymond Arroyo of Fox News on the show last week, And so I went and got this book, The Spider Who Saved Christmas. He's the author of it. And it's nice hardcover. Not trying to sell it. I think you'd love it, though. It's a nice Christmas story that is based in truth about a spider back in the days of the first Christmas when baby Jesus was born. Spider Who Saved Christmas. Get it now. I'm sure I get it from Amazon, as a matter of fact. All right, so authoritarian United States. Are you ready for this? Well, it's happening. I know you understand it's happening right now. Famed Chinese dissident and artist Ai Weiwei. I'm taking a guess at the name. He was on PBS. He warned Americans during an interview last week that the United States is already under authoritarian control. And he called out wokeness as similar to Mao's Cultural Revolution. In the United States, with today's condition, you can easily have an authoritarian, Wee said. Weiwei. I don't know. It's Weiwei. We'll go with Weiwei. In the United States, with today's condition, you can easily have an authoritarian, Weiwei said. In many ways, you've already got authoritarian state. You just don't know it. Here's a piece from the interview. This was last week on PBS.
In your book, you're describing the directives of Mao Zedong during the Cultural Revolution that would be distributed publicly every night. And then you write, this is your quote, they served a function similar to Donald Trump's late night tweets while in office. They were the direct communication of a leader's thoughts to his devoted followers, enhancing the sanctity of his authority. So, do you see Donald Trump as an authoritarian?
I don't, if you're authoritarian, you have to have a system in supporting you. You cannot just be authoritarian by yourself. But certainly in United States, with today's condition, you can easily have an authoritarian. In many ways, you're already in the authoritarian state. You just don't know it.
How so?
Many things happens today in U.S. Can be compared to Cultural Revolution in China.
Like what?
Like people trying to be unified in certain political correctness.
Political correctness.
That is very dangerous.
Political correctness. A tool of tyrants. A tool of the left. That's what political correctness is. I've always refused to be politically correct. I will not be. Got me in trouble on mainstream radio a lot of times when I was doing music radio. I wasn't politically correct. I refused to be. People don't like that. People don't like it unless you're politically correct is a Marxist ideology. It's part of a Marxist ideology. Consider this snippet from intellectualtakeout.org. The methods of the communists and progressives differ, but the goal is one and the same. Achieve cultural hegemony, a political phrase popularized by Antonio Gramsci, an Italian Marxist and politician who became prominent in progressive circles decades after his death. Progressives learned that achieving hegemony by critical punishment is difficult. Intellectuals seeking to remake America, born tainted by Western civilization's original sins, racism, sexism, greed, genocide, etc., found a more effective way. Political correctness, perpetuated by a small class of people ensconced at universities, bureaucracies, and major media, is the ideal tool for achieving cultural hegemony. So what is cultural hegemony? I'll spell it for you. Hegemony, control of a group, hegemony. Cultural hegemony. According to thoughtco.com, cultural hegemony functions by framing the worldview of the ruling class and the social and economic structures that embody it, and just legitimate and designed for the benefit of all, even though these structures may only benefit the ruling class. Marxism. Who benefits from a utopia? The ruling class. Who is told they benefit from Marxism, from, democratic socialism? That is Marxism with a pretty paint job. Democratic socialism. Who actually benefits from it? The ruling class. Who doesn't benefit from it? The people who are ruled. You and me. Whether you're left or right, we're all going to be under it. The left isn't going to like it any more than we are, but the left doesn't know that. The left believes what the Bernie Sanders and the AOCs tell them. They are, in essence, their gods. Oh, it's going to be great. They're going to pay for college. They're going to pay for all of our medical care. They're letting everybody. There is no illegal human in the world, Nancy Pelosi once famously said. They're all God's children. Well, boy, oh boy, when Nancy Pelosi starts throwing God around, you know she's serious, right? Right, Miss Pro-Abortion Nancy? Pro-baby killing Nancy? Starts throwing God. Oh, what about God's children in the womb, Nancy? Oh, just a clump of cells. So that's where we are. Authoritarian state from a Chinese dissident who recognizes an authoritarian state. Kind of scary, isn't it? Sure is. And you know what? You know what a big part of that is? A big part of the move to the left is something else the left believes without question. Climate change is going to kill us if we don't do something about it. I've got some great stuff on climate change, including the grave dangers of solar and, to maybe a lesser extent, wind. And I've got a piece from John Stossel you're going to want to hear when we come back. I'm John James.
Legacy 1160 WSKW.
If you love to shop, whether it's for yourself or for others, you've got to visit Town Line Antiques. With new items arriving nearly every day, you never know what treasure you may stumble upon. Whether it's vintage signs, sports memorabilia, jewelry, coins, books, comics, artwork, or classic electronics, you're always sure to find something that tickles your fancy. Plus, there's a lot of great furniture, glassware, and household goods. And their vintage Christmas booth is now fully stocked with many wonderful items. If you're looking for ornaments, lights, stockings, figurines, or any other holiday decor, you've got to stop by to shop this dazzling selection. You'll also find Santas galore with dolls, pictures, ceramics, and more. Or how about a classic Christmas toy, like a teddy bear or a truck? Townline Antiques is a great place to find that truly one-of-a-kind gift, or treat yourself to a trip through some wonderful memories with a present for yourself. Townline Antiques, open Tuesday through Sunday from 10 to 5, Route 201, right on the Winslow-Vassalboro Town Line.
What's important here at Moody's is we have a lot of opportunity for upward mobility.
Moody's definitely helped me through. They sent me to school. I got my degree in business. I had the demeanor and I had the willpower and the want.
Our trade is constantly changing, and there's always new challenges that arise.
I definitely feel like an owner. It's very exciting.
When you like what you do, you like your job, you like the people you work with, what else could you ask for?
Bring your skills to Moody's and build a long-term future with us.
I'm CBS 13 meteorologist Matt Honig. We'll have mostly sunny skies out there for our Tuesday. Temperatures will be in the mid-40s in most towns with a stiff breeze out of the west. Wednesday will have increasing clouds. There will still be some cool air in place with highs only in the low 40s. Some warmer air arrives on Thursday with highs up near 60.
All right, thank you very much, Matt. It's 10:25 right now on Legacy 1160 WSKW. John James, your friendly host in the house. And coming up at 11 o'clock, well, we've got Casey Chalk on talking about the book, The Persecuted. His book, it's about Christians living in, and I don't know how openly they live. I'm interested to see how this works out culturally. Because we know in this country, you worship however you want. I mean, that's, or not at all. No laws regarding establishment of religion. I mean, we live among Muslims, we live among Christians and Jews and Buddhists and atheists, and we coexist, and not so easy in other parts of the world. And so I am looking forward to talking with Casey coming up in just a little while. Now let's get into climate change. We just had this climate summit where it must have been very interesting. Joe Biden fell asleep, and must have been fascinating to be there. And at the end, one of the world leaders. It just made me so uneasy watching some of this. It felt like 1984. You had this guy up there, and he started crying. Oh, I wish it wasn't as successful. It's not. Because you're talking garbage. You're not even making sense at this thing. None of this makes any sense. This is all part of the globalist agenda. Climate change is just a useful tool in the toolbox of the left to take over society and do it on a world global order. China doesn't have to comply. China is the biggest polluter. And they are going to keep increasing their carbon output for at least another 10 years. How does that work? And meanwhile, we're trashing our infrastructure, destroying our pipelines, and putting up solar panels on every corner. How is this working out for America? Not very well. But that's Biden's plan. That's his plan to unify us. There are plenty of things do-gooders don't want you to know about renewable energy, and we're going to discuss some of them right here. For one thing, it's not very reliable. Whether you're talking about wind or solar, it's not reliable. Another thing they don't want you to know, because it's all about the power and control grab, has little, if anything, to do with the climate. Plus, it's very dangerous. Now, we talked a little bit about this with Jeff Hanley when he was on. I've done some research. There's a treasure trove of information you can find on this if you care to look for it. Progressives seldom do any real research. They only look for pseudo facts to bolster the lies told to them by the government, the UN, and mainstream media. And the mainstream media, they aren't journalists. They don't go look for facts. They just listen to stories. They get most of their stories, I swear, from Twitter. They see somebody posted on Twitter, well, the world's going to end. AOC says the world's going to end in 11 years, probably down to 9 or 10 now. And they go right on the air and they report that as fact. That's the media. That is the Pravda media. We are no longer operating in a society where news matters. It's all propaganda. And the propagandizers, you know them well. Chuck Todd, you know well from the Today Show. Stephanie Ruhle, you know well from the Today Show. Willie Geist, you know well from the Today Show. All propagandists. You watch them on MSNBC, and they're totally different than their moderate stance on the Today Show. They're much more moderate. But once they get on MSNBC, the masks come off, and they spew the leftist garbage. So the last few years, we've learned a lot more about solar power and about wind power as we get, and solar panels, by the way, are everywhere now. You can't go anywhere without a god-awful, fenced-off, ugly field of solar panels. Oh, but they're going to save the world. No, they're not. No, they're not. They're going to break the public, and they are putting the public more under control of the government. No longer are we, think about this, no longer are we allowed to choose. Are we going to be allowed to choose what we drive, how we heat our homes, where we get our energy from? It's all going to come from renewables. But there is danger. Solar energy is terrible for the environment in a number of ways, including the fact that large land areas have to be devoted to it. Huge land areas. All of the solar, thousands of acres of solar farms you see all over the state now could be replaced by 1 or 2 nuclear reactors. Very safe, very efficient, comparatively, a very small footprint. No, not nuclear power. Okay, so you want to go solar. At Forbes, Michael Schellenberger highlights another problem with solar energy. It produces vast quantities of hazardous waste, which are not being adequately dealt with. Did you know that? I'm learning all the time. The last few years have, and Michael Schellenberger, by the way, was a climate alarmist, and now he's sort of backed off from that. Look up Michael Schellenberger. He's a very smart guy. The last few years have seen growing concern over what happens to solar panels at the end of their life. Consider the following statements. The problem of solar panel disposal will explode with force in 2 or 3 decades, wreck the environment because it's a huge amount of waste and they're not easy to recycle. The reality is that there is a problem now, and it's only going to get larger, expanding as rapidly as the PV industry expanded 10 years ago. Contrary to previous assumptions, pollutants such as lead or carcinogenic cadmium can be almost completely washed out of fragments of solar modules over a period of several months. For example, by rainwater. Carcinogenic cadmium. Now, all of these statements come from the solar industry insiders. Cadmium is a particularly toxic waste problem. Sean Fogarty of this group, Forbes, said, we estimate there are 100,000 pounds of cadmium contained in the 1.8 million panels. Leaching from broken panels damaged during natural events, hailstorms, tornadoes, hurricanes, earthquakes, and at decommissioning is a big concern. Here's how OSHA describes cadmium, which fills these solar panels. Cadmium and its compounds are highly toxic, and exposure to this metal is known to cause cancer and targets the body's cardiovascular, renal, gastrointestinal, neurological, reproductive, and respiratory systems. Yay! Suddenly that smoke doesn't seem so bad, does it? Disposal of decommissioned solar panels in regular landfills is not recommended in case modules break and toxic materials leach into the soil. But where do most decommissioned panels go? Landfills. Recycling is often recommended, but it's not practical because recycling costs more than the economic value of the materials recovered, which is why most solar panels end up in landfills. Worse, many decommissioned solar panels, which were supposed to be properly disposed of, are instead labeled used and sold to Middle Eastern countries that have no ability to deal with hazardous materials like cadmium. So, don't all sources of energy involve hazardous waste? Well, yeah, to an extent. But the volume of waste produced by solar panels and wind turbines vastly exceeds that associated with reliable sources like nuclear. Interesting, isn't it? Solar panels rarely produce electricity. And this is the thing. They rarely produce electricity, never at night, not much when it's cloudy, and in a northern climate like Maine, not at all when they're covered with snow and ice. In Minnesota, solar panels produced electricity less than 20% of the time. Are they worth just the blight? Forget about the poison that's going to leak out of them and kill people. Forget about that. Just the blight on the landscape is 20% of the time. Is that worth the blight? Then you add in the carcinogenic cadmium that kills people, ruins their reproductive system, causes cancer, causes renal problems, causes cardiovascular problems. They didn't tell us that, did they? Janet Mills didn't tell us that. She must have forgotten, must have slipped her mind. No, she probably didn't know. Because guess what? She's a progressive. She doesn't research. Just she sees, less coal and fossil fuels. Oh, it'll be beautiful. Not really. If you live next to these solar panels, if you have these solar panels in your backyard, God help you. This is what happens to them. John Stossel is an independent journalist. JohnStossel.com. I encourage you to check out the reports he does. He's done a few videos on climate alarmism, and he's had some of his videos fact-checked and banned from Facebook. I don't know about YouTube. Gotta love those fact-checkers, right? That's Joe. That's an oxymoron, fact-checker. They don't check facts. They don't know what facts are. They have no clue. They know whoever yells the loudest must have it right. So that's how they react. Leftists are all about raging and sending out mean letters. And as soon as all those mean letters come to the fact checkers say, whoa, boy, these people are mad. They must be right. We better take that video down. Here's audio from one of John Stossel's recent climate pieces. It makes a whole lot of sense, and it's based in facts. This is good. Listen.
You've heard the news. 97% of scientists agree.
Climate change is getting worse.
Carbon could cost us the planet. Just look out the window.
Look out the window? Because it's a hot day and her tiny piece of the world? How shallow is that? And what does it mean when we hear...
The debate is settled. 97%.
97%. 97% of scientists agree.
Of course I believe in global warming.
Pat Michaels is called a climate change denier, but he agrees that the globe is warmed.
97% of scientists agree that global warming is real and people have something to do with it.
Climate changes. Temperature's up 4 degrees since what's called the Little Ice Age hundreds of years ago, and up 2 degrees over the past century. The real question is it dangerous? Is it going to harm people?
Exactly.
There's not a 97% consensus on that?
Of course there's not.
There's no consensus on fear-mongering like this.
If we lose the ice caps, you know how high the water will be? It would come up to the Statue of Liberty's elbow.
Oh, my God! But even the UN's computer models don't predict the 20 feet that Neil deGrasse Tyson and Al Gore predict. We invited them and 20 other alarmists to make their points on this program. Only one, Bill Mumo, agreed. He worries about
the hot car effect, where you put your car in the sun, it's 70 degrees outside, you get in your car, it's 140. How did it happen? That's exactly what's happening with the atmosphere.
The climate models that got the government so excited have been totally wrong so far.
Well, I would say the climate models are actually better than economic models.
Well, they're both bad.
Okay, I wouldn't object to that conclusion.
But then why should we turn our lives upside down based on bad models?
Because last time carbon dioxide was this high in the past, sea levels were maybe 20 feet higher than they are now.
That was back before humans existed.
It will resume warming, but you don't really care whether it warms a degree in the next 60 years. It warmed a degree in the last 100 years. Life expectancy doubled.
A few degrees warming might be good.
It might be if you, depending where you are.
Cold waves kill many more people than heat waves.
Well, I don't know. How many tens of thousands of people died in Europe in 2003 in the heat wave?
Tens of thousands did die. Heat can kill, but many more people die from cold. The CDC says heat kills 600 Americans a year. Cold kills more than twice that many.
This budget requests $1.1 billion to address climate change.
The agency doesn't get money going in front of a congressional committee and say,
more money,
more issue, money. It's really not a problem. You ought to give the money to somebody else. No, instead, issues compete with each other for your money. And so you have to scare them.
We have to act in this decade.
As someone who gets paid to do research, I'm really excited. I'm going to go home and have fun. And so, to summarize, we have much scientific confidence that warming is contributing to sea level rise and other changes.
I've lived through 8 environmental apocalypses. The population bomb, acid rain, the ozone hole, global cooling, you name it. The global warming scare has longer legs because it's got more money.
That also gives climate alarmists a reason to squash dissent.
The climate change deniers suggest there's still a debate over the science. There is not.
I bought what they were saying.
Judith Curry is a climate scientist at Georgia Tech. She once agreed with the scaremongers.
What changed?
Well, ClimateGate.
Emails reveal a plot among the world's top climate scientists.
A group of esteemed scientists were strategizing to squash their opponents. And I thought, oh, wait a minute. Why should I believe this instead of my own judgment? What scientists actually agree on is a very narrow slice of things. Yes, temperatures have been increasing overall for the last several hundred years.
No doubt.
And that carbon dioxide does act to warm the planet. But there's no agreement as to whether warming is dangerous or not.
For saying that,
you were one of the targets of the congressman saying, show us where you get your money.
Yeah. I was one of the 7.
7 climate skeptics were branded heretics in order to reveal all their sources of
funds.
It's
a religion.
Curry abandoned science.
This is after praising me and pushing me a few years ago as, the prestigious scientist.
Well, you have wrong opinions now.
Yeah. I was trying to be honest as a scientist. It was very unpopular with a lot of my colleagues. They were trying to squash people who disagreed with them.
And they've succeeded.
I get emails from people all the time who wish they could speak out.
What are they worried about?
Losing their jobs.
It's dangerous to dissent when climate change is something politicians address with religious zeal.
This was the moment when the rise of the oceans began to slow and our planet began to heal.
He's the Antichrist, I swear.
It's a religion. The head of the United Nations climate panel said it's his religion.
When you emit greenhouse gases, you feel like you're committing a sin?
I suppose if I were a preacher, I'd say we're all sinners, but there's redemption out in the future.
What is redemption?
My wife and I decided to build a zero net energy house in New England. It's completely solar.
But it's expensive.
Basically, it's tax-free money for me.
Yeah, taxpayers subsidize you and me. I did it too. Hey, What's fair about that? That just hurts the poor. They ask all these Nobel Prize winners, what do we need to do to help the world?
Yeah.
Addressing climate change was way down.
Way down.
A million people die from dysentery.
Yes, absolutely.
Dirty water, horrible things that are killing people now.
Yep. And that would be cheap to fix, by the way. Cheaper than
we should do that before we worry about global warming.
But it's not an either-or thing.
But government action is an either-or thing. We don't have endless money. If we want to help people, we ought to do what really helps.
There you go. Climate change is alarmism. It's alarmism, and they're getting away with it. Janet Mills has how much of our money? That's our money. Is she throwing away into these hideous glass panels, poison panels on every street corner and windmills on every mountaintop? Trashing up our landscape. Remember signs everywhere, a sign? Signs are nothing trashy compared to solar panels and windmills. Windmills are pretty awesome. I'd like to see one up close. And then they can take it down. They're not reliable. It's all part of the end game. It's all means to ends. Everything they're doing is means to ends. Everything they're doing is putting us more and more and more to the left, more and more and more toward Marxism. That's where Marxism lives. That's where communism lives, on the left. That's why we call them leftists. There is a scale. There is a left scale. There is a right scale. I talked about this earlier. Way, way over on the left is totalitarianism, communism, Marxism, democratic socialism. And way over on the right is anarchy. No government, no control, no authority. Both of those things are bad. Any extreme, you learned in school, extremes are not good. Moderation is better. Extreme anything is not good. Extremes need to come together to meet in the middle to come up with something that works, something that adheres to the Constitution, something that we can live with, we can live freely with, but they are using everything at their disposal. Racism, schools, climate change, the IRS, to wreak havoc on us. Who would have ever thought that we'd have a president that wants to know whenever you make a $600 transaction at the bank? Everybody, we got to know. We've got to have our hands in the pot. And there are more taxes coming too. Taxes on estates. How about that? That's being talked about. What would that mean? What would taxes on an inherited estate mean? Well, if you inherited $1 million house, that would be great. Somebody left you $1 million house, maybe your parents. But now all of a sudden you've got to pay the inheritance. Well, you can't afford that unless you sell the house. But see, more money. Oh, we aren't going to raise taxes on the middle class. Well, they're raising them by virtue of inflation. And now the IRS is going to be into our pockets more. So the Biden administration wants to monitor everything every American does at the bank insofar as transactions, $600 and over. Most of us probably do at least that when we do a bank transaction. John Kennedy from Louisiana. Great senator. He spoke at a Republican Senate press conference about Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen. She's a piece of work. Have you seen Janet Yellen? Talking about Janet Yellen and her proposal to let the IRS monitor transactions above $600, and he sounded the alarms. And you should be concerned. And if you aren't, you will be. Here's Senator Kennedy. Here's what he had to say.
I used to collect taxes for the state of Louisiana. I had my title was like Secretary of the Department of Revenue or something, but I was a tax collector. Of course, there's a tax gap. Duh. I mean, we have a voluntary system, and when we first imposed an income tax in America, and the constitutionality of it was litigated, I think our lawmakers in our judicial branch decided, well, we need to strike a balance here between people's privacy. I'm not sure they used the word privacy then, but between people's privacy and public policy of catching people who cheat. And the way you do that is through audits. And the IRS, look, it's an extraordinarily inefficient agency. Any of you have a tax question? Go call the IRS this afternoon. See what happens. You can't even get them on the phone. I mean, it's ludicrous. What are they going to do with all this data? The second point I want to make, I don't think you can understate the risk that this data could leak.
Right.
I mean, we just had an instance. Some of my colleagues talked about it, where financial data of taxpayers was leaked. I think by the IRS. And the IRS said they'd get to the bottom of it. Have you heard anything? Have y'all asked? I haven't. You know what? We won't. And we remember what happened with Lois Lerner. You know, it just depends on what kind of, I'm talking too long. It depends on what kind of state you want to live in.
Right.
Do you folks really want to live in a state where the government knows every one of the intimate details of your life, including finances? If you do, I hear China's beautiful this time of year.
There you go. He nailed it right there. The government's grip is getting tighter. People pay attention to things that concern them. This, along with the vaccine mandates, jab or job, mask mandates, clean energy edicts. This is all socialism. Bernie and AOC have been calling for this. They want this. So democratic socialism is Marxism and communism with a pretty dressing over it. No socialist country, no communist country calls itself communist. No communist country calls itself communist. They call themselves socialist, but they are, by definition, communist. It's where we're headed. So we've got an empty vessel as a president who Bernie Sanders, AOC, and the rest of the left have guided way to the left, and he's implementing these things one by one. Hopefully, they hope you don't notice, but it's kind of hard to miss now, isn't it? People are starting to wake up. Kind of hard to miss. When they start indoctrinating your children, when they go to our children and start teaching them evil, corrupt, critical race theory, gender studies, gender fluidity. This is not curriculum. This is not curriculum. When they start teaching this, and a governor candidate in Virginia says, well, parents have no right to tell school teachers what to teach, and then the election turns a blue state red, you know people are waking up. Sometimes it takes the littlest things, our children, to wake people up. But parents said quite clearly, hands off the kids. And so they elected Glenn Youngkin and Winsome Sears, who we are going to have on the show sometime soon, I hope. Just an amazing person. First black woman ever elected as lieutenant governor in the state of Virginia. Maybe in the country. I don't know. And she's a U.S. Marine. And she's absolutely amazing. 10:53 right now. Casey Chalk coming up at 11 o'clock. And I don't know if we have time for, do we have time for one more thing? Let me see here. Yeah, we do, I think. Joe Biden began on day one by opening the borders, canceling our energy independence, halting the Keystone XL pipelines, stopping drilling and fracking on federal land, which he said he wouldn't do because he's not against fracking. Remember he and Kamala saying that? Do you remember that during the campaign? Well, everything he said during the campaign, everything turned out to be a lie, unlike Trump. Everything he said was the truth, even though he had a hard time getting everything done because he was playing defense for 4 continuous years. Now we have problems with high fuel prices. Heating oil prices are going to be through the roof this year. And Dementia Joe is begging OPEC, who have no goal other than making money. He's begging OPEC to make more oil. Send us more. Make more oil. Send us more oil. Produce more oil. He's destroying our infrastructure to appease Führer Sanders and AOC. Larry Kudlow was on Sean Hannity, and Larry Kudlow told Americans exactly what's going on, and you'd better listen because he is right on everything here. Larry Kudlow.
If you destroy your power base, which is what all these crazy Greens want, including Biden, you're going to destroy the country. You're going to destroy our jobs. You're going to destroy the middle class. You're going to destroy our way of life. I mean, you know, it's interesting. we shouldn't worry about gym equipment, and we had lower expectations, as you quoted the Washington Post. This crowd on the far left, which despises free enterprise capitalism, they don't want growth. They don't want prosperity. They don't want jobs. They don't care about typical middle-income families. What they want is a left-wing ideological agenda, which has no basis in fact. And that's why they're crazed about global warming, and they would destroy our power base. That's why they want to tax large and small businesses, and the burden of that will fall on middle-class people. That's why they want to create incentives not to work. Listen, Sean, I'm going to give Manchin some credit because he's out there saying these entitlements and social welfare programs should have workfare. You should not be eligible unless you're out getting a job, looking for a job.
But it's tempting. It's tempting not to work. It's tempting. All that free time, what are you going to do with it? What do people typically do when they have too much free time? I talked about this yesterday, too. You know, people think, oh, it's going to be great. It's going to be great when we have universal basic income. That's another carrot to entice the masses. We'll have all this free time. We'll get free income. What's going to happen to the industries? What's going to happen to well, the government will own the businesses. They will own the means of production. That's how that works. If nobody has to work because you're getting universal basic income, the government will control production. You'll use your universal basic income to buy stuff until it runs out, because the only money they've got is the money that we send them in taxes. None of this is, you're saying, but that doesn't make any sense. Right. Bingo. It makes no sense, but it's enticing to the ignorant. If you don't work, how do you appreciate time off? You don't. There's nothing good about life. You work, you produce, you're proud. No matter what you do, you can take pride in that you accomplish something. And then you get the weekend, you get a vacation, and you're like, yes, finally, all this work, here's my payback. Gonna go camping, gonna go take a trip somewhere. But if you're off all the time, what good is that? What do you have to live for? Look at kids when summer vacation rolls around, right? Oh, school's out, yeah. One weekend, I'm so bored. Can you imagine a life like that? That's how they entice people. There are people who would be all over that, and they end up usually dealing drugs or committing crimes. Too much time on my hands, right? We'll be back. We've got Casey Chalk straight ahead. Stick around. This is going to be good. I'm John James.
Legacy 1160, WSKW.
What's important here at Moody's is we have a lot of opportunity for upward mobility.
Moody's definitely helped me through. They sent me to school. I got my degree in business. I had the demeanor and I had the willpower and the want.
Our trade is constantly changing, and there's always new challenges that arise.
I definitely feel like an owner. It's very exciting.
When you like what you do, you like your job, you like the people you work with, what else could you ask for?
Bring your skills to Moody's and build a long-term future with us.
Interested in cutting your fuel oil bills by as much as 40%? Then call your Energy Kinetic System 2000 Premier Dealer, Pools, Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning, and ask about the System 2000. You can save up to 40% off your heating cost and have all the hot water you need with the System 2000 from Energy Kinetics. Whether you're planning on replacing your current boiler or building a new home, stop into the Pool showroom at 19 North Street in Waterville and see the System 2000 from Energy Kinetics. The System 2000 runs on oil or propane, can be converted between fuels with a simple burner change, is whisper quiet, and can save you up to 40% off your heating fuel cost. If you own an older boiler, help keep it running more efficiently with a cleaning and tune-up. And don't forget, when you need emergency service, call Hool's 24-hour service department at 872-6762. Hool's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning, your System 2000 Premier Dealer.
I'm CBS 13 meteorologist Matt Honig. We'll have mostly sunny skies out there for our Tuesday. Temperatures will be in the mid-40s in most towns with a stiff breeze out of the west. Wednesday will have increasing clouds. There will still be some cool air in place with highs only in the low 40s. Some warmer air arrives on Thursday with highs up near 60.
From the Home Auto Group Studios, Farmington Ford and Franklin Chrysler in Farmington. This is WSKW, Skowhegan, Augusta, Waterville, Legacy 1160.
ABC News, I'm Ika Giacchi. Deliberations this morning in the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. ABC's Jim Ryan is in Kenosha, Wisconsin.
First, the judge will have to pare down the 18-member panel that's been hearing evidence to the 12 who will decide the case. What happens in the jury room, says legal observer Gil Sofer, is up to the jury.
Whether they do it in order of counts, whether they jump around, whether they spend an hour just chit-chatting about things unrelated to the trial, no one can control that.
Which makes guessing how long deliberations might take just that, a guessing game. Jim Ryan, ABC News, Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Americans stepping up their spending at retail stores and online. Solid hiring, strong pay raises, and healthy savings for many households helped boost retail sales 1.7% in October from September, according to the Commerce Department. Several states are now encouraging anyone over the age of 18 to go ahead and get the COVID booster shot. No more restrictions. This is ABC News. Police in Colorado are still looking for multiple suspects after a shooting that left 6 high schoolers hurt. They were all at a park near their school in Aurora. 60% of Americans say the Supreme Court should leave the Roe v. Wade decision legalizing abortion just the way it is. That from an ABC News Washington Post poll. 27% want it changed. Google still facing a multi-billion-dollar fine in Europe after losing an appeal.
The EU's General Court dismissed an appeal from Google over a $2.8 billion fine against the company by the European Commission, which moved to sanction Google in 2017 after the Commission said the company unfairly favored its own shopping recommendations and search results over those of competitors. Google has said it made changes to comply with the Commission's decision. Google could still attempt to appeal to the European Court of Justice, the EU's highest court, but hasn't said whether it would do so. Mark Remillard, ABC News.
Ika Giacchi, ABC News.
At PetSmart, we are hiring for the holidays, but we can't hire cats as cashiers.
Wait, how much?
Or hire dogs to stock shelves. PetSmart is hiring people who'll do anything for pets and giving them competitive pay, flexible hours, medical benefits, and 50% off select PetSmart merchandise. Sorry, still not hiring dogs. Apply for full and part-time positions at careers.petsmart.com. PetSmart is an equal opportunity employer.
It's not just Santa who's coming to town, it's also your in-laws and their cousins. So time for some gifts from the Home Depot. From doorbell cameras to intelligent thermostats, you'll look smart and save big on the latest smart home gifts. Does your father-in-law like to fix things around the house? Put him to work with a DeWalt 20-volt 2-battery starter kit. Buy one, get one free. That should keep him busy. No matter who comes to town this year, make the holidays yours with savings on tools and gifts store-wide from the Home Depot. How doers get more done.
Good morning. Welcome back, Freedom's Pep Rally. I'm your host, John James. We are brought to you by the Gun Shop on Coney Circle in Augusta. Videos all brought to you by Moody's Collision Center. Audio at the website brought to you by Harry J. Smith Company in Waterville, and our app powered by Hardy Wolf and Downing, Maine's injury lawyers. And hour number 3, and we started out with a guest. I am excited to talk about this book. The book is called simply The Persecuted, and the subject matter deals with living as a Christian in Muslim societies. And a man who has experience and has written the book, Casey Chalk, is here with us this morning. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, John. I'm great. Thank you so much for having me on the program.
It's great having you on. I'm excited to learn more about your experiences, and these are firsthand experiences you write about, correct?
Yeah, that's right. While I was living in Thailand from 2014 to 2017, I became intimately familiar with a lot of the stories of various Pakistani Christians, primarily Catholics, who had fled religious persecution in Pakistan.
Now, what kind of persecution are we talking? Are we talking about physical abuse, denial of privileges? What? I mean, I imagine it depends on where you are. It can be more serious in some places than others. But any place there is religious persecution, that makes you think there's some sort of a violent lilt to it.
Yeah, so the persecution comes in many different forms. Some your listeners may be familiar with some of the more violent examples. Asia Bibi is a very well-known example of this Pakistani woman who was accused inaccurately of committing blasphemy. Pakistan has blasphemy laws on the books where the penalty is death. She was tried and convicted and put on death row, and it took a lot of international outrage, including from former Pope Benedict XVI Emeritus to get her out of Pakistan. But the stories of those that I met when I was living in Bangkok are very similar to that. They've suffered all kinds of stuff, from being just harassed by local Muslims and imams to being beaten and attacked. I knew one family, two young women were assaulted by some Muslim men and actually set on fire. And I knew them personally. They showed me the burn marks on their bodies. So in a lot of times, the ultimate result is death. There's every year there are many Pakistani Christians who are killed by Islamic extremists simply for being Christian.
Wow. And people take this country for granted, and I'm talking about America, obviously, and they don't know what people go through in other countries. They don't imagine being in a country where you aren't even free to worship freely. Now you say that now these are Muslims who are extremists. These are not the Muslims we have many Muslims living in America who are not, we've seen some extremists, but we've also seen some extremist Christians. There are in any religion. But you're talking about like the radicalized Islamists?
Yeah, so this has been a long-standing problem in Pakistan, the influence of more extreme forms of Islam. Of course, the country was founded as a Muslim country when it broke apart from India in the 1940s. But the prominence and the popularity of these more extreme forms of Islam, much of which come out of Saudi Arabia, there's a lot of Saudi money funding madrasas across Pakistan, has come to have a very strong impact on the Muslim Pakistani population. Another issue is the large number of ethnic Pashtuns, which listeners may know about them because it's the predominant ethnic group in Afghanistan. Many of them have fled into Pakistan, during the last 20 years of the U.S. Military presence in Afghanistan, and they practice a more extreme form of Islam as well, called the Deobandi school. So there's just a lot of increased pressure from various Islamic militant groups that have seeped into the big cities of Pakistan, like Lahore and Karachi, where there are these historic Christian communities that date back, almost 1,500 years.
Wow, this is amazing stuff. Now, I've heard. In fact, the first time I heard it or read it was in Pete Hegseth's book, Fox News guy, wrote about the big difference and the delineation between Islam and Islamism. Can you define the difference?
Sure. So, Islam is not a monolithic religion. There are many strands of it. There are many peaceful practitioners of it around the world. Islamism refers, to a more conservative, reactionary form of the faith that has become increasingly popular, in the last several decades. Like I said, through the influence of Saudis and in other Arab groups, and it's also tied to an idea that Islam must be the dominant, if not exclusionary, religious and political force in a society, right? I think that's something that a lot of Westerners may not understand, is that Islam is a very political religion. And in many of these countries, whether you're talking about North Africa, Middle East, even Southeast Asia, like places like Malaysia and Indonesia, it's really impossible to separate the religious practice of Islam from the political.
Wow. So now the Islamists and those who practice, the more peaceful version of Islam, which, I know people in our community who are Muslims, and they're just regular people that, you wouldn't think they're no different than any of us. But do the Islamists, does the more radicalized group, do they get along with your, I guess, for lack of a better way to put it, your garden variety Muslims?
Well, I think it depends on the country. I mean, Islam is very diverse across the Muslim world. We're talking about like 1 billion people.
Right.
I would say that the Islamists are the louder. They're the more violent. They're more aggressive. And so in many respects, they're able to coerce other Muslims who may not have latched on to their more radical beliefs, simply because, they're the ones who control many of the madrasas. And they can sort of point the finger at more liberal or secularized Muslims and say, you're not being an authentic or faithful Muslim. Various forms of soft and hard coercion that, make their voice the loudest in the public square in many of these Muslim countries.
Wow. Now, do you think there's did you get any sense that there are factions in America now that are Islamists and would like to see America become, ruled by Islam?
Oh yeah, I think that this is. I think it's a trend that is on the increase, and I think it has been. I think we'll see more of it the more Muslim immigrants the United States takes into the country. And I'm not necessarily making a political argument regarding immigration. That's a separate thing. But just the fact that there are increasing number of Muslims, you're going to get more varieties of Islam. Right. And I think one of the most common trends that we're noticing in the United States now is that even if the Muslims who come over to the United States are more liberal or secularized, they just want a better future. They want better opportunities for themselves and their families. Their children feel very isolated, right? They're going through culture shock as they try to adjust to American society, and they turn to these more radical forms of Islam that they are exposed to at certain madrasas in the country, or just internet material, right? A lot of this is happening. A lot of the radicalization is happening online, and that that serves as a way to sort of bring that more that harder, more reactionary form of Islam into American society.
Wow. Now, I don't mean to change the subject from the book, because, I love this topic, living as a Christian with Muslims, among Muslims, where in America you can do that. I mean, there is no established religion. You worship whoever you want, or nobody, however you want. But in these countries, it seems to be more problematic if you're anything other than Muslim. Now, I've heard, I think it was at an NRA conference several years ago, the first time I heard about groups of Muslims in certain places in, say, Michigan or Minnesota, where there is Sharia law and there are actually no-go zones. Then I've had other people say that, no, this is just, these places do not exist. Well, it's got to be one or the other. So I figure you probably are in a place where you could speak to that.
John, could you repeat that last part? I didn't hear you for that.
Okay, I'm sorry. We've heard that there are places in America, certain sects, certain groups, who they have a community where they use Sharia law, and they're no-go zones for law enforcement or anybody else. I heard this at an NRA conference from one of the speakers several years ago, and I've also heard it from others. I've also seen people fact-check it and say that's totally false, and I wonder if there's any truth to any of it.
Yeah, I'm not sure on the particulars regarding the practice or extent of Sharia law in the United States. I do know that, I think this is another thing that, American listeners may not have as much familiarity with, but, Sharia law, generally just Sharia just means the practice of Muslim jurisprudence. So it can mean a lot of different things, right? I mean, there are certain aspects of, Sharia that can be practiced not necessarily with formal courts, It's more just something that when Muslims get together, they have their own forms of dealing with various kinds of problems. But I do know that there have been a lot of allegations, particularly in the UK, regarding Sharia law actually being practiced with courts and rulings being going into effect that would not align very well with Western values, like certainly with freedom of religion, but also freedom of speech and freedom of conscience. So I think I think that I think it's possible that Sharia will become an increasing threat in the West, as the Muslim populations continue to grow.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. So you're a Christian living in Afghanistan. Do you have to be secretive about it? And what if you're not? I mean, you're an American. You're in Afghanistan. You're in Thailand or Taiwan. Where were you? Bangkok. You were in Thailand.
Yes, I was Thailand.
Okay. So, what do you hide your religion? Do you have to practice, under the covers, under the dark of night, as it were?
So, Thailand is a predominantly Buddhist country. There's a large Muslim minority community in the southern provinces of the country. So, certainly in Thailand, there's freedom of religion. And that's the reason why a lot of these Pakistani Christians flee there, is because they have some ability to worship freely. They're hounded by the Thai police in time because they don't have the proper papers to stay forever while they seek refugee status with the UN. But yes, in Muslim countries like in Pakistan, it's increasingly difficult for these Pakistani Christians, their communities, to survive. They're under constant threat. So there's the violent component of it, just the fact that the attacks occur, very bloody, violent attacks occur against these communities pretty regularly, but also forced abductions and forced marriages where young Christian girls are abducted by Muslim men and married off, and there's formal legal certifications to demonstrate that these marriages have happened. And so when Christian parents come and complain to the authorities, there's paperwork that's been done by a Muslim cleric that substantiates this this faux marriage. And so a lot of families lose their daughters. The estimate is about 1,000 Pakistani girls, mostly Christians, a few Hindus, being forcibly married every year. In Afghanistan, Afghanistan is a far less hospitable place towards Christians. I think there are some Christians living underground, but it's very small numbers. They would not be able to profess their faith in public at all. If they were to do that, they would be thrown in jail and potentially killed.
Unbelievable. And so it's safe to say there are no Christian churches. There's no Baptist, no Catholic churches with big steeples and spires and bells ringing. None of that, right? That would be blasphemy, I guess, right?
Yeah, the only Christian worship that was going on in Afghanistan for the last 20 years was either on U.S. or British military bases, or the other NATO allies, or the Italian embassy also had a small church on their compound. But that's about it.
That's unbelievable. Now, is it as inhospitable? Are these extremists as inhospitable to other religions, to the Buddhists or the Jews or any other sect?
Yeah, so the Western media did a story a few years ago about the very last Jewish man in Afghanistan. There was an ancient Jewish population in Afghanistan that had fled, going back many, many centuries towards the destruction of Jerusalem in the 1st century AD. But yeah, there's no Jews left in Afghanistan. Listeners may be familiar when the Taliban took over the control of Afghanistan in the mid-90s. There were these really beautiful, historic Buddhist statues, very tall. I mean, we're talking like, gosh, I don't know, maybe like 100 feet, maybe taller than that, in the central province in Afghanistan, and the Taliban just blew them to shreds. Because they basically viewed it again as a form of as idolatry and blasphemy. The Taliban and other extremist forms of Islam, like them, they refuse to allow any other religious group to practice freely in their country because they want it to be a pure society solely for Islam.
Now, allegedly, the Quran doesn't talk about that kind of violence toward non-believers, does it? At least that's what I've heard.
Oh, yeah. I mean, no. I mean, there's quite a bit of violence in the Quran. I mean, Islam spread through violence. That's not to say that there were necessarily, mass coerced conversions, though that certainly did happen as well. But I mean, Muhammad himself, the reason why he was even able to establish the religion was because of a major battle that he fought, the Battle of the Trench, which, some of that is described in the Quran and the Hadith, which is like an extra canonical text that many Muslims also rely on to inform their beliefs and practices. I would say that violence is pretty hardwired into certainly the spread of Islam and even beliefs about Islam. Right? If you die fighting for the cause of Islam, then you're a martyr. You go straight to heaven. I would say that it's very much baked into the cake of the Islamic faith. Even though I very much grant that there are many Muslims today who reject that.
Right.
But I think that they have difficulties trying to meld their own more westernized or secularized or liberal beliefs about religion and freedom of religion with what the Quran teaches and how Islam expanded in the early centuries across what was predominantly a Christian world. Most of the lands that they conquered, that we now know are Muslim, they were historically Christian and mostly Christian.
Now, Islam is the largest practiced religion in the world right now, correct?
I don't think that is. I think that Christianity is still the largest religion in the world, but
okay.
It's certainly very close. Both have more than 1 billion.
Wow.
In some sense.
Wow, that's unbelievable. So now the 73 virgins. I'm sorry, I'm just thinking of these questions coming to my head. You hear, well, Ayatollah is going to die. He's going to meet 73 virgins. Where did that come from? I'm not that familiar with the writings in the Quran. Is that in there?
Yeah, all of that comes from the original text of Islam, either from the Quran or the early Hadiths. Like I mentioned, these additional sort of like commentaries and expansions on the teachings that Muhammad supposedly received from an angel in what's now Saudi Arabia. Those kinds of ideas have informed Muslim fighters since the earliest days. When they were conquering what was once the Roman Empire through the Crusades to the present day.
Wow. There's a lot to this. Now, what are some of the things you saw that you witnessed for persecutions while you were in some of the extremist countries like Afghanistan or Pakistan?
Well, my time in Afghanistan was with the military, so I didn't see the persecution of Christians. There weren't any Christians anyway. It was all Islam. So the experiences that I describe in my book, The Persecuted, are about the stories that were told to me by several Christian Pakistani families living in Bangkok who had fled persecution. In the book describes two families in particular, the William and the D'Souza families, both of which suffered tremendously from these extremists. Michael D'Souza, he was beaten on a number of occasions. He was basically tormented by these extremists for years. He fled to Thailand, lived there for a number of years. Eventually, after he was thrown into a Thai detention center, his experiences and that of his family, he has a wife and 3 kids, they were so terrible that they fled, that they went back to Pakistan, and he took up a job as a rickshaw driver, right? Basically like a small taxi cab, open air taxi cab.
Right.
The extremists who had harassed him many years before, they found him, they identified him, they pulled him out of the rickshaw. It was actually on St. Patrick's Day of 2018. And they beat him within an inch of his life, and they burned his rickshaw. And he was in the hospital for months. That gives a flavor for what kinds of horrific experiences these Christians are enduring in Pakistan.
And that's just because he was a Christian.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Wow.
Basically, the imams, these religious clerics, they identified him as a Christian in his community, When his father, the story began originally when his father died. Some of these religious extremists, they came to under the auspices of wanting to pay their respects, but really it was a way to try and persuade Michael to convert to Islam. And when he refused, then they started to amp up the pressure against him and his wife and children.
Wow. And you've got the full account of that story. That's got to be these are amazing revelations. I mean, people should see how Christianity and other religions are persecuted in other countries. And maybe they'll gain a deeper appreciation for what we have here and work harder to try to protect the Constitution, which gives us all the rights we have. The book is The Persecuted. And Casey Chalk is the author. Now, you're a journalist. You are living overseas, but you're an American journalist who writes now for the New Oxford Review, a senior contributor for the Federalist, correct? And
yep, that's right. Yep, that's where I write, and people can find my writing there.
That's a great outlet. Also, you're a contributor to the American Conservative and Crisis Magazine. You've got a BA and a master's in teaching from the University of Virginia, and a master's in theology from Notre Dame Graduate School of Theology at Christendom College. Did I say that right, Christendom?
Yep, Christendom College in Front Royal, Virginia, where I live down in the Commonwealth, which just made a great decision regarding their governor. Yeah,
no kidding. I talked with a veteran yesterday from Virginia who is running for Congress, is actually running for the Senate next year, and we're gonna hopefully we're gonna get a Winsome Sears on, and you talk about an amazing turn of events there. Congratulations! Your state went from blue to red, and what a great pair you've got there. I mean, this is going to be fantastic going forward.
Yep. Hopefully we'll be able to keep it that way.
Absolutely. Well, best of luck. God bless you, and God bless your family. You've got what, 4 kids?
Yep, that's right. Yep, 4 kids. So, yep, it's a full house.
Yeah, you're gonna be doing some homeschooling.
That's right. Yep,
yeah.
We've been homeschooling for the last couple of years. Mainly, I've written about this in the Federalist and in other publications, how disastrous the public school system has become. I grew up in Fairfax County. It's one of the wealthiest counties in the country, and it's one of the largest school systems in the country. And I had a great experience there more than 20 years ago.
Right.
But it really has changed quite a bit. So, yeah, we feel much more comfortable and safe taking responsibility for the education of our kids ourselves.
Absolutely. Good for you. Good for you. The schools hopefully are going to be getting better now. Glenn Youngkin says he's going to outlaw critical race theory, so that's a start, right? If he can do it, can he do that, do you think?
I look forward to seeing what Youngkin's able to accomplish, and I'm optimistic. I'm excited. He also, as we witnessed with the last presidential administration, he's fighting an uphill battle against a very established and strong bureaucratic system, which it's very difficult to unravel these things, especially when they've been going for so many years.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yeah, he's certainly got his work cut out for him, but he's got a great lieutenant governor, and if they keep their feet to the fire and don't have to battle like Donald Trump did for 4 consecutive years, every waking hour he had to battle and try to keep his promises. And I think he did a pretty good job, all things considered. But yeah, very best of luck to the Commonwealth of Virginia and Glenn Youngkin and Winsome Sears, and to you, my friend. And where can we get The Persecuted? Where can we find that book?
Sure. So I definitely urge people to go to Sophia Institute's website, sophiainstitute.com. The Persecuted is the name of the book. Definitely buy from them because then you're supporting, one of these great small Christian conservative publishers. You can also find it on Amazon. I certainly urge people to write a review on Amazon so we can get, more visibility for this book and its important topic on the plight of really courageous Christians. I mean, I'm inspired by the folks that I met every day, the remarkable sacrifices they made simply to practice their faith and worship their God in peace.
Amen. Amen. Now, are you ever going to be going back to any of these countries? And you were with the Defense Department, right? Were you in the service?
I worked as a translator and interpreter for Persian, Dari, which is one of the languages they speak in Afghanistan. I don't think I'll be going back to Afghanistan anytime soon based on the withdrawal.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
I'd love to go back to Thailand, especially if my Pakistani friends continue to live there as they try to work on getting their refugee status so that I can visit them and encourage them and help them out. And in The Persecuted, I provide some different ways and suggestions that readers and your listeners can help these these disenfranchised communities.
This is great. I mean, this is a great way to learn how people in other parts of the world live and how Christians, Jews, and so forth have to put up with the persecution just for what they believe. I mean, now you mentioned early in the interview something about a person's thoughts or something that made me think of that. Do they try to assume they know what you're thinking, what's in your mind when they persecute you?
Sorry, can you repeat that question for me, please?
Yeah. You had said something at the head of the interview that made me think that they are actually persecuting people based on what they believe they're thinking, what's in their heads, or did I misunderstand that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, certainly, in Muslim nations, they want explicit profession of Muslim faith. So yeah, even if you were to be a Christian and try to be quiet about it and keep to yourself and worship in peace, they would certainly come after you. So yeah, I mean, these are societies that will brook absolutely no alternative opinions when it comes to religious belief.
Wow. Well, good. This book sounds like a great read. The Persecuted. It is Casey Chalk. And thank you for your service. You're an amazing man. And this sounds like a great book. And I really appreciate your time today, sir.
Thank you so much for having me on. I very much appreciate it. And take care. And I definitely urge folks to check out The Persecuted and hear about these amazing stories. And
one more thing, spell out that website you gave us because I don't know Sophie.com.
SophiaInstitute.com. SOPHIA Institute.com.
Sophia, I'm typing it in right now so I can share it on the live feed. SophiaInstitute.com. And you will find the book there, The Persecuted by Casey Chalk. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you so much for having me. Take care.
God bless you.
All right. You too.
Bye-bye. Casey Chalk, The Persecuted. SophiaInstitute.com. And you can find the book right there. And I will share that with you. I'll get it up on the screen during this next break. Please come back. We've still got a half hour left or almost, and more to talk about. I'm John James. This is Freedom's Pep Rally.
WSKW, Legacy 1160.
A fair price on a used vehicle from a dealer who's exceptional and moral. That's exactly what you'll get at Shelley's Used Cars LLC in Fairfield. Shelley and Anthony Rudnicki are straight shooters, and they'll always do what's right by their friends and neighbors. And if you don't know them personally, you're just a friend they haven't met. And if you're looking for a good used vehicle, you might consider stopping by and saying hi. You can pay weekly with reasonable payments, and of course, they always take cash. Since 2013, Shelley's Used Cars, Norridge Walk Road, Fairfield. Like them on Facebook. Caring Hands Home Care LLC has immediate openings statewide. Personal support specialists assist our clients in their homes with their activities of daily life, like assistance with personal care, meal prep, and light housekeeping. Candidates need reliable transportation, a valid driver's license, and current vehicle insurance. Caring Hands prefers PSS with certification and experience. However, we provide training for new hires through orientation, job shadowing, and the PSS course. Call 742-0002 or go to caringhandsme.com.
If you love to shop, whether it's for yourself or for others, you've got to visit Townline Antiques. Because with new items arriving nearly every day, you never know what treasure you may stumble upon. Whether it's vintage signs, sports memorabilia, jewelry, coins, books, comics, artwork, or classic electronics, you're always sure to find something that tickles your fancy. Plus, there's lots of great furniture, glassware, and household goods. And their vintage Christmas booth is now fully stocked with so many wonderful items. If you're looking for ornaments, lights, stockings, figurines, or any other holiday decor, you've got to stop by to shop this dazzling selection. You'll also find Santas galore with dolls, pictures, ceramics, and more. Or how about a classic Christmas toy like a teddy bear or a truck? Townline Antiques is a great place to find that truly one-of-a-kind gift. Or treat yourself to a trip through some wonderful memories with a present for yourself. Townline Antiques, open Tuesday through Sunday from 10 to 5. Route 201, right on the Winslow-Vassalboro Town Line.
I'm CBS 13 meteorologist Matt Honig. We'll have mostly sunny skies out there for our Tuesday. Temperatures will be in the mid-40s in most towns with a stiff breeze out of the west. Wednesday will have increasing clouds. There will still be some cool air in place with highs only in the low 40s. Some warmer air arrives on Thursday with highs up near 60.
Welcome back. Thank you, Matt. It is 11:36 on Legacy 1160 WSKW. Thank you very much for being here. I appreciate that. And Casey Chalk, what a telling chat that was, huh? And the book, The Persecuted, sounds like a must read to me. His time living in mostly in Pakistan, as far as the extremists are concerned, and also in Thailand, and he was in Afghanistan for a time as well. How Christians are persecuted by the Muslim extremists to the point where burned, tortured, killed for practicing a religion. America's got a lot of faults, and we have made a lot of great progress and continue to. But you look at places where you can't even, can you imagine if you're seen holding a Bible? You're dead meat in Afghanistan or Pakistan. You know, you're going to meet God sooner than you want to. America is the greatest country on earth. Still. And it's because of the hodgepodge of people from all over the place under one constitution, under one rule of law. And the left is trying to destroy that. There may be a compromise in the offing, though. 5 Republican senators have promised to withhold support from any Democrat spending bill if it doesn't include funding the border wall. Wouldn't it be great? I don't know if that's going to have a huge effect, 5. But wouldn't it be telling if more decided to join in? Now, here's who the 5 senators are who have said they will not vote for anything the Democrats have for a spending plan that does not include funding the border wall. And do we need the wall? I guarantee you, one of them isn't Susan Collins, and that is a problem. Here's who they are. Senator Mike Braun of Indiana, Marco Rubio from Florida, Mike Lee from Utah, Cynthia Lummis from Wyoming, and Ted Cruz from Texas. Now, Liz Cheney, who has just been disowned by her state of Wyoming's Republican Party, they don't recognize her as a Republican anymore. She could have gained some ground had she put her name on that list. Her fellow Wyomingite, I don't know what they call people from Wyoming, Cynthia Lummis did. The big names on there, of course, Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio. How about some more? How about, where's Lindsey Graham? Where's Mitch McConnell? Where is Susan Collins? Where are they? Where are they as our borders continue to hemorrhage? Nonstop. It's not literally, it's nonstop there at the border. We need more people with guts to stand up. People who stand up and people who speak out. Ted Cruz has been a very outspoken senator. during this whole year of Biden, or not quite a year yet. Seems like it's been 100 years with the doddering old man. But Ted Cruz has stood up. I also, where is Rand Paul? Why isn't his name on the list? I have a lot of respect for Rand Paul. Both he and Ted Cruz have put Fauci through the ringer, as well he should be. 1141. Did you know that you have more money? That you should have no problem spending money now because you have more money. I didn't realize I had more money. Thank goodness for MSNBC and Willie Geist and Stephanie Rule. Both Today Show people, also on MSNBC, but you shouldn't worry about the rising prices from inflation and Biden's stupidity. Don't worry about it. Because according to Stephanie Rule, there's a dirty little secret. You know what that secret is? You have more money to spend because of COVID-19. I bet you didn't even know that, did you? So let's hear how she explains this, shall we? Here's Willie Geist and Stephanie Rule telling you what you need to know.
And Stephanie joins me now live. Steph, it's great to see you. As you say, inflation's over 6%, numbers we haven't seen in more than 30 years. So how much higher can these prices go, and when do you see them coming down?
Well, listen, Willie, nobody knows exactly when they're going down, but you have to put all this in perspective. This inflation is not in isolation, and the government predicted it was going to be a challenging recovery all tied to COVID. And the dirty little secret here, Willie, while nobody likes to pay more, on average, we have the money to do so. Household savings hit a record high over the pandemic. We didn't really have anywhere to go out and spend. And as we said a moment ago, we're expecting retail sales this holiday season to break records.
There you go. See, you got money, now spend it. Go out and spend your money. Thank you, COVID. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you. Didn't realize that. Had no idea. And she's the financial expert on the Today Show, Stephanie Rule. She knows what she's talking about. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's Steffi. She's something else. 1143 on Legacy 1160. Marjorie Taylor Greene is awesome. The left hates her because she speaks out like the left does, but she doesn't speak their language. So they tried, they got her taken off her committees. They tried to get her taken out of Congress. Can you believe that? Because she spoke her mind. Only the Democratic left are allowed to speak their mind. If you're on the right and you do, no, going to take you out at the knees. Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene was on recently on Steve Bannon's War Room talking candidly about MSNBC's Joe Scarborough. You remember the Republican, former Republican, I would say, who advocates for the dismissal of first responders who refuse to comply with Joe Biden's unconstitutional mandates. This is still happening across the country. You comply or we deny you a job. As Stephanie rules, you've got more money now. As people who don't follow the government's mandates lose their income. And in Maine, at least, can't collect unemployment. Kick them when they're up, kick them when they're down. Kick them when they're up, kick them when they're down. She unapologetically kicks smug Joe Scarborough right to the curb. This is Marjorie Taylor Greene, very candid. I will tell you that. She is very candid. Here she is. Wait a minute. I'm not seeing it here. Hold on. I've got to search for the cut. I love anything I can play by Marjorie Taylor Greene. So hold on. Let me see if it's hidden away here someplace. Oh, yeah. Okay, here it is. This is Marjorie Taylor Greene talking about Joe Scarborough.
Joe Scarborough can go to hell. That's what I have to say. Oh, no, that man, fire police officers, fire firefighters, fire all these people, nurses. These are the people that would save his life if he had a car accident, if he had a heart attack, if he had a problem. You know what? He can go to hell. Joe.
Love her. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Pompous Joe, is quick to side with the tyrants, but God forbid something happened to him and nobody showed up. Mika would call 911 and say, "Do you know who I am?" And they'd rush right over. I'm sure they'd send somebody right over. The pizza guy, they had to get the pizza guy to drive the ambulance because the first responders, oh, by the way, you knew about this probably, right? You knew about this. Predictably, Governor Mills rescinded her orders for EMTs to get the vaccine or lose their jobs. Who could have possibly foreseen a problem with that? Who possibly? Can you imagine? I guess she didn't see it coming. She didn't see any problem with it. Oopsie. I guarantee, I don't know what the reasoning was. Whatever she said it is. Maybe she said the truth. Whatever she said it is, though, the truth of the matter is people probably were dying because there were no first responders to go to their aid. Who knew that would happen? Anybody with half a brain, who isn't a tyrant, who doesn't think power and control like Governor Janet Mills. And how's that nursing shortage going to be working out for you? How many nurses have we lost in Maine? I don't know. Something else to research. I'll have to ask my buddy Rhonda Snyder over at Maine Journal News and see if she can provide us with any statistics. It is 11:47 right now, Legacy 1160 WSKW. John James here, your friend, your buddy. It's Freedom's Pep Rally. And women in the United Kingdom, this is an interesting story. Women in the United Kingdom are committing more crimes. According to a story at WND.com, crimes by women in the UK are surging. You want to know why? Actually, the numbers are surging, but it's likely women are committing no more or fewer crimes than they have in the past. But offenses by men who call themselves women are now being attributed to the female gender. So women get to it. Again, women lose again. Women lose again. Political correctness, again, that's a communist thing. That is a communist thing. Political correctness is a controlled thing. We heard the Chinese dissident say, we're under authoritarianism in America now. Political correctness is one of the things he pointed to. Got to be politically correct. If they look like a man and walk like a man, but say they're a woman, they're a woman. If they have the genetic makeup of a man and they say they're a woman, they're a woman. That's a hard no. Nope, they're still a man. They're still a man. So what the UK should do, but they won't because they're part of the new global infrastructure, you know. They're all part of this. All the elites are on board with this globalist thing. The elites, the progressives are going to suffer as much as the conservatives are. If this ever comes to pass, and I hope it doesn't, I pray it won't, and I don't think it will, but because 2022, unless the elections are stolen again, I think that 2022 could be the change for America, the change we need. And 2024 could be the big change. If we can take the next two elections as conservatives, real America First conservatives, I'm not talking about Mitch McConnell or Lindsey Graham. Now, I mean, they're not bad guys, don't get me wrong. But they're in it for themselves. They've been in it so long, they're in it for themselves. You know, they worked with Trump when it benefited them, and when it didn't, they turned on him and talked about him behind his back. Do we need Trump? Well, if we have him, we have him. If we don't, we'll get by. We need somebody who has his kind of thinking and isn't part of the swamp, isn't part of the Washington establishment. There are some freshman representatives and senators who I think would do a great job. Matt Gaetz was one of the early ones that pundits were pointing to. Matt Gaetz would be a heck of a leader. Now, he's got some baggage now, I get that. But he's just a good example of somebody who will take no crap and will want to get things done putting America first. I don't care about his baggage. I didn't care about Trump's baggage. I didn't agree with a lot of what Trump said. I think he should have kept his mouth shut many times. But what he did, I could look past all of the bull crap, all of the dumb things he said. I could look past it all because he cared about America and American exceptionalism and individualism and American supremacy. To apologize for America for pulling out of the Paris Climate Accord, which is what Joe Biden did, went on a mini apology tour, is totally antithetical to what he should have been doing. And by the way, the Paris Climate Accord is garbage. It is absolute garbage. What is it? It holds nobody accountable. China is the one that should be held accountable, the biggest polluter in the world. No, we'll give them a pass for 10 years. Are they ever going to stop using fossil fuels and puffing CO2 into the air? Very unlikely. Very, 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 very unlikely. But we know for another 10 years, they get to keep increasing their output of CO2. They aren't just burn, baby, burn for the next 10 years. They are increasing their output for the next 10 years. And then they have to level it off according to the all-powerful Paris Climate Accord. Our climate envoy, John Forbes Kerry, will make sure to hold them accountable. John Forbes Kerry, what an empty suit that guy is. I could go on all day about these people. They're tyrants. They're all tyrants. They're all on the same page. That's one thing I got to give them. They're all on the same page. They all know what they want, and they're working hard to get there. And I think with very few exceptions, the squad being one of the big exceptions, everybody is trying to get the same thing done that takes us closer and closer to the form of government, the form of democratic socialism, a.k.a. Marxism, a.k.a. communism, that they want. The squad, they want it faster. They want it right now. So they aren't voting for things like the infrastructure bill if it doesn't include enough of the Green New Deal. They want it right now. They're too stupid to see that you've got to go slowly so the people don't notice. That's lost on them because they're idiots. They are enraged idiots. They really are. They're extremists in the true sense of the word, and they're in our government. They were elected by idiots. Yes, I said it. I called the electorate that elected those people to Congress. I'm talking about Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, Pramila Jayapal, Ayanna Pressley, AOC, Cori Bush. They're idiots who like free stuff, who like promises of utopia. That what they don't know, what they don't know. We try to tell them they need somebody like them to wake up and tell them, and then maybe they'd believe it. There is no utopia. The promise of utopia is a red herring. So while you're looking at all the free stuff you're going to get, they're looking at all the power they're going to grab. And at that point, once they get that power, you can kiss utopia and all of your false promises goodbye. Time to wake people up. Yeah. Go out and do that, will you? Have a great afternoon. I'll see you tomorrow morning at 9. Mike Violette back here bright and early tomorrow morning at 6. This is Freedom's Pep Rally. I'm John James.
Legacy 1160 WSKW.
Hi, I'm Kyle from Gregory's Disposal. My dad finally let me do my own commercial, so get ready for a whole new sound. Looking for a huge dumpster to tackle that project? At Gregory's, we've got them all. Just give us a call, 465-4500. How about a small dumpster? Yep, we've got those too. They're only a phone call away, 465-4500. We offer any size dumpster from 2 to 50 yards with pickup when you need it. But if you want to pay more than you should, you'll have to get your dumpsters elsewhere, because at Gregory's, we like smiles, not frowns. That's why we keep our prices way down. Whether it's for a day or a month, we'll be happy to drop off a dumpster and pick it up when you're finished. Or if you need a dumpster all the time, we can do that too. Weekly, monthly, or whatever you need. What project do you have going on? Whether you're a do-it-yourselfer or a professional contractor, give Gregory's a call, 465-4500.
What's important here at Moody's is we have a lot of opportunity for upward mobility.
Moody's definitely helped me through. They sent me to school. I got my degree in business. I had the demeanor and I had the willpower and the want.
Our trade is constantly changing, and there's always new challenges that arise.
I definitely feel like an owner. It's very exciting.
When you like what you do, you like your job, you like the people you work with, what else could you ask for?
Bring your skills to Moody's and build a long-term future with us.
I'm CBS 13 meteorologist Matt Honig. We'll have mostly sunny skies out there for our Tuesday. Temperatures will be in the mid-40s in most towns with a stiff breeze out of the west. Wednesday will have increasing clouds. There will still be some cool air in place with highs only in the low 40s. Some warmer air arrives on Thursday with highs up near 60.
From the Home Auto Group Studios, Farmington Ford and Franklin Chrysler in Farmington. This is WSKW, Skowhegan, Augusta, Waterville, Legacy 1160.
ABC News, I'm Ika Giacchi. Jurors deliberating now in the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. ABC's Terry Moran